Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first edition of the Tip of the Ice-Burgh Watchalong as we kick off the 2024-25 Pittsburgh Penguins season. I'm your host for this evening, Nick Belsky. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Belsky, and you can find all of our work at Tip of the Ice-Burgh on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast from. Shout out to everybody who's already jumped on the live. I told you this earlier this afternoon that we were going to jump on, and I'm very excited to kick off the 2024-25 season with all of you. As you can tell, this is the first time we're doing this on this channel, so I'm very excited to go through this opening event with all of you. We have a couple of guests that are scheduled to join us. In the first intermission, we'll be joined by Hunter Hodies of Locked On Penguins, and then in the second intermission, and maybe a little later, we'll be joined by Jeff Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly Game Day podcast. But we're all here for one reason only. That is the opening of the Pittsburgh season, the Pittsburgh Penguins season, as they take on the New York Rangers. Should be a good game tonight. I said earlier today that I was expecting a low-scoring affair between these two teams. It feels like a classic first game of the season. Penguins come off a little choppy. Rangers come off a little bit choppy. And by the second period is when you really start to see things, get underway. But I still see a 3-2 game, maybe a 2-1 game. But I think it's going to be low scoring in this one, especially because you look at who's in between the pipes for both teams. I mean, Tristan Jarry, you can say what you want about him, and I'm sure we will have plenty of conversations about Tristan Jarry throughout this evening, but he's great in October. He's great in October. He's great in November, and he's great in the month of December as well. So you can expect him to come out firing, especially knowing that he has something to prove coming into this season. Then on the other side of things, you look at Igor Shesterkin. I mean, this is a guy that a couple days ago, it was reported that he turned down $88 million. If you're going to turn down that type of contract from the New York Rangers, you sure as hell better go out there and back things up. So it's going to be an interesting game tonight. Puck drop is scheduled to be in just about 3 minutes. So very excited for the opening of this game. Now let's go into the Penguins lineup. Is it exactly what we expected it to be? Drew O'Connor, Sidney Crosby, and Anthony Beauvillier will likely start for the Penguins as their top line. Michael Bunting, Evgeni Malkin, and Rickard Rakell as the second line. Rutger McGroarty makes his NHL debut. There were many, myself included, that were skeptical about whether or not he will be able to make the team simply because there's a lot of names here, but a couple of injuries opens the door for Rutger McGroarty to not just make the team out of camp, but make his NHL debut on October 9th of 2024 against the New York Rangers. Will he have a little bit of a Jake Gensel coming out party? That would certainly be a good sign for the Penguins if he could pot two against the Broadway Blue Shirts. He'll be on a line with Lars Eller and Jesse Puljujärvi to begin his NHL career. Fourth line of Kevin Hayes, Cody Glass, and Noel Acciari. And then on the defensive side of things, Marcus Pettersson, Erik Karlsson, Matt Grzelcyk, Kris Letang, Ryan Graves, and Jack St. Ivany. And as I mentioned earlier, it'll be Tristan Jarry between the pipes. As we look up now at the TNT broadcast, you got Jeff Jimerson singing the national anthem, which means we are all the way back for the Pittsburgh Penguins season. You'll be able to see the scoreboard to my left, courtesy of livesport.com. And we'll be having conversations throughout this entire game. So let me know if you have any questions that you want to put in the comment section. We will certainly address as many and all as we can, because we're going to be on here for the entire game, which means 3 hours of the conversations to have about this Pittsburgh Penguins team. And there's certainly plenty to discuss with the amount of changes that they made with Sidney Crosby, who's on the screen right now, getting ready for year number 20. And with the Pittsburgh Penguins looking to get back into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And look who's saying it's a hockey night in Pittsburgh. A little bit of cross-sport love there. Najee Harris and Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers to letting you know it is a great day for hockey, and it's a hockey night in Pittsburgh indeed. We asked at the beginning of this, really, I put this in here about 4 hours ago, who will score the first goal of the Pittsburgh Penguins season? Who will beat, hopefully, Igor Shesterkin at some point tonight? Randy says in his NHL debut, you can bet on it. It's going to be Rutger McGroarty. Dabton says Crosby. I mean, that's a fair best bet if you're going to put some money on it. I would go with Sidney Crosby as well. But before we keep going, as the great Josh Getzoff likes to say, Stick is down, pucks are down, and a great opportunity for Anthony Beauvillier right off of the jump. He's a name that a lot of people are not happy to see on Crosby's line, but if he would have scored there, I think a lot of people would have been quite all right with it. A lot of speed coming out for both teams, both getting rushes really early in this matchup. But to go down through some of these other answers here for who's going to score the first goal, Michael Bunting says, Scott, I'm expecting Bunting to have a pretty good season in his first full year with the Pittsburgh Penguins. You're kind of hoping with him for a repeat of what you saw from Rickard Rakell in his first full season. He scored 28 goals, 11 on the power play. If the Penguins can get that out of Michael Bunting, and then obviously everything else that he brings as he gets out there for his first shift of the 2024-25 season, the Penguins will be very, very excited to see that. This is going to be something that's interesting to watch tonight as the Penguins take control of the puck. And here's a 2-on-1, it looks like, for the New York Rangers. The one man back is going to be Erik Karlsson. He can't cut off the pass, but a good job by Marcus Pettersson to get back and break up that 2-on-1, avoiding the opportunity there from the New York Rangers. But this is what I was going to say is pretty interesting. With Erik Karlsson, who's lugging the puck up right now, he didn't play in any preseason games. He didn't practice with the Penguins up until last week with that upper body injury. Is he going to look rusty at all coming into this game? You know, there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of weeks of how important is the preseason? Should the preseason be shortened with the injuries to guys like Patrik Laine? But we'll have to see. I mean, this is going to be one case here. You know, what does Erik Karlsson look like with zero preseason experience? Obviously, a lot of new names in the Penguins' bottom six that he's going to have to acclimate to. But on the defensive side of things, I mean, he's playing with old reliable Marcus Pettersson, and the rest of the defense outside of Matt Grzelcyk remains the same as last year. So definitely going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on there with a guy like a guy like Erik Karlsson, as I just continue to remember I need to keep talking as we watch this game here. 17:48 remaining in the first period of play. 0-0 the score, 2 shots on goal for the Pittsburgh Penguins, none for the New York Rangers to this point, although they did have a 2-on-1 that was thwarted by Marcus Pettersson, who's in a contract year. We might get to that, but a goal there. Penguins fall behind. It looks like it's Jacob Trouba who wired it on net. Gotta have to see who ended up getting the goal, but they're treating it as if it is Jacob Trouba, and the Penguins fall behind by a score of 1-0. I'm hoping I'm not behind the scoreboard here. I might be, but at the end of the day, New York Rangers, they strike first. It's either Jacob Trouba or maybe a deflection as they're showing the replay here. Trouba shoots it low, and it looks like it might have been redirected by 39 on the New York Rangers. So an early goal for the road team, and the Pittsburgh Penguins fall behind. Jacob Trouba obviously had plenty of comments at the outset of this season talking about, you know, is this the last dance for the New York Rangers, at least this iteration of the New York Rangers with Trouba and with Kreider and with Zibanejad and with Panarin. Obviously, they have their young guys, Alexis Lafreniere, Capo Caco, who they extended in the offseason, Adam Fox, Keandre Miller. But that older generation there is, you know, potentially in their last opportunity together to try to make something happen and get that Stanley Cup back to Broadway. So with them, there's a little bit of desperation here, and they come out and score on their first shot of the season. Not a good sign of things to come for Tristan Jarry, but that one was redirected. You have to be able to box out and get the eyes clear for your netminder. So 1-0 is the score now in favor of the New York Rangers, and Jacob Trouba sets it up. Whether or not he scored, we're going to have to wait for the official word on that one. But let's go down through some of these other ones. Sarah says, first Penguins goal is coming from, almost right there by, looks like Michael Bunting was in front of the net, which is exactly what Sarah was saying Gino's line. Maybe I'll actually be happy if we come out with fire. Just anybody, please score. Well, somebody scored. It just wasn't on the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first 5 minutes of this one. A little bit surprising to me, but anytime you let a goal in from that far out, I know there was a redirection. You're not going to be happy if you're Tristan Jarry and the Pittsburgh Penguins on defense. Zach Attack says McGroarty as well. Let's see. Christopher says 2 games and a live cast. I am ready. You're also watching that Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal Canadiens game, I'm guessing. That would be really fun. That game is going to be interesting, especially the way some of their preseason matchups went. Them leading off the season together is certainly a decision there by the NHL schedule makers. Let's go down through and see anything else. Zach Attack says, what about Glass? I mean, Cody Glass, fourth line center. If the Penguins can get a goal from him, today, that would be great. And it looks like the replay in the goal here, it looks like it was just Kris Letang who was beaten by Sam Carrick to the front of the net. So that is officially the goal scorer, Sam Carrick from Jacob Trouba, just about 4 minutes into this one. And also Brodzinski gets an assist as well. There's another opportunity, a nice save there by Tristan Jarry. But Dapton, thank you. Appreciate this. Says only about 5 seconds behind. And then Pittsburgh fan Patrick C says, got a notification about the goal before you said anything. It was only about 5 seconds. So good. We're in a pretty good position here. Mac checks in, says, hi, Nick. Hope you're well. I'm so happy you decided to do the watch along. I'm glad you decided to jump on. I mean, we're not going to do this for every game because that is a lot of talking for me. I mean, 3 hours a night, 82 nights in 6 months would be a lot. I mean, especially when you consider these back-to-backs. I mean, they played tonight. Penguins play again tomorrow against the Detroit Red Wings. Then they play Saturday, 3 games in 4 nights. It would just, it would be a lot. Max says, what did I think of the intros? Didn't watch it. Was setting up, doing my research, getting ready, making sure all the graphics were good for this one. But I can only imagine the intros were phenomenal. I mean, it's the way the Penguins do things. They are a Class A organization, especially when it comes to the atmosphere in PPG Paints Arena. You know, I've been to a couple of home openers in my time. It's always a fun time. I'm hoping that Rucker McGroarty got a nice warm welcome. Obviously, Crosby will. Obviously, Malkin will. Nice opportunity there. It looked like Matt Grzelcyk was skidding in on the left half wall. He gets a shot off, and it's saved by Igor Shesterkin. Penn's getting some offensive zone time here with their third line. Exactly what you want to see from McGroarty and Eller and Puljujarvi. They obviously scored a bunch of goals on Friday in the preseason finale. If they could carry that over, it would be a welcome sign for the Pittsburgh Penguins here. Mac Brunson says Kevin Hayes' intro was really nice to see the crowd get going. Yeah, I'm hoping that Kevin Hayes is a guy, a little bit of chippiness here. Philip Hedl getting into things after missing a lot of last season with migraine issues. He's looking like he's not worried about that right now as he goes head-to-head with Matt Grzelcyk in a scrum post-whistle. 2 shots on goal for both teams. A little over 5 minutes into this one. They should be heading to their first commercial break here on TNT, but the Penguins fall behind early by a score of 1-0. But I'm hoping that Kevin Hayes gets a nice warm welcome here. I mean, this is a guy that 2 years ago was a 50-plus point scorer for the Philadelphia Flyers. If he can give that production, especially if he's in on the fourth line, which if he's on the fourth line, I'm going to say right now, don't have the expectation that Kevin Hayes is going to score 50 points as a fourth line guy. But if he brings that level of confidence, that level of offensive production as a fourth liner, I think that the Pittsburgh Penguins fans should definitely embrace him. He's going to be a guy that is going to be beloved in that locker room. So nice to hear that he was given a nice introduction there as well. So we are 6 minutes, 10 seconds into this first period of play. Like I mentioned, it's not just going to be my voice you hear this evening on the Penguins Watch Along at Tip of the Ice-Burgh. We're going to be joined by Hunter Hodies of Locked On Penguins, and we're also going to be joined in the second intermission by Jeff Taylor of the Penguins Fly Game Day podcast. Love talking to Jeff. Always love talking to Hunter as well. 2 guys that I certainly respect their opinion, and I love their podcast. So if you have room in your ears and your listening devices for more than just the Tip of the Ice-Burgh, I suggest you check out both Fly Penguins Fly and the Locked On Penguins podcast. But as they head to commercial break here on TNT, first commercial break, you were hoping the Penguins would get off to a hotter start than this, down 1-0. The one thing I've noticed is the Penguins have controlled some pace of play. They've been able to cycle it well early in this game. And the one thing that I've noticed on the other side of the ice is that the New York Rangers have been a lot of one and done. So a good job by the Penguins to be able to get that puck retrieval after the one opportunity and to be able to get it out of the zone. The one time that they didn't, it ended up in the back of the net. And if you're Kris Letang, you got to beat your guy out to the front of the net. And if you're Tristan Jarry, I mean, it's unfortunate that you have to deal with that tip as your first shot of the season. But the Penguins are relying on Tristan Jarry to be big time this season. That's why they brought him back. I know that there were some reports that the Penguins were open to moving on from Tristan Jarry this offseason, but none of that happened. So it looks like as of right now, he's going to be their guy, especially with Alex Nedeljkovic on the shelf with a lower body injury considered week to week. So it's an interesting start for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I like the fact that they've kind of controlled the pace of play a little bit, but that's just kind of always been the vibe with Mike Sullivan teams, right? How many times have we gone, talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins and saying, well, seemed like they controlled the entire game and yet they still found a way to lose. That's a Mike Sullivan thing. He likes to have puck possession. He likes his teams to cycle a lot and get multiple opportunities in the offensive zone. Going to have to finish. It's going to be difficult against a guy like Igor Shesterkin and a team like the New York Rangers, who, I started getting into them a little bit earlier in the stream, but that last dance mentality is kind of crazy. I mean, part of it is because of the contracts that are coming up. I mean, what is Artemi Panarin going to do? His first stint in New York, yeah, he helped them get back on track because he joined them after that, after that email was sent out to all of the season ticket holders that, hey, they're going to rebuild. It's not something that you want to do, but it's something that every team does. And they bounced back really quickly. The bingo balls fell in their favor. They got Capo Caco one year. They got Alexis Lafreniere the next. So that helped them. But a lot of it was, the arrival and the play of Artemi Panarin. So what does he do in his next contract negotiations? What does Shesterkin do? And do they do the opposite of what we saw just about a month ago Sidney Crosby do in the city of Pittsburgh? I mean, we haven't touched on that in a while because, it was, as soon as it was done, it was done. And Sidney Crosby moved on, and I think everybody else did with the preseason and training camp getting underway with all the competition that there was. But you look at kind of the dichotomy between these two teams. You have Jacob Trouba saying this has to be the last dance because these players are getting paid and some people are going to have to leave. I don't think it's going to be Chris Kreider. I know some people have said that he's one of the names there. But, you're looking at guys like Panarin. You're looking at guys like Zibanejad, Kreider. Jacob Trouba is obviously a big one. You would have to expect that he's not going to get another contract in New York, whereas in Pittsburgh, yeah, a lot of their guys are already signed. Erik Karlsson has 10 mil. Both Letang and Malkin have 6, but Sidney Crosby coming back for just that 8.7. Just another example of why he is one of the best leaders and best captains in the National Hockey League. Play has resumed now. We're just over 12 minutes remaining. Penguins in the offensive zone. Looks like Karlsson's trying to get some things going as they get the puck back on their sticks. Sidney Crosby has the puck, taking it behind the net. He swoops out in front, tries to send it across to Beauvillier. Good opportunity. They're scrambling in front. The ref is looking for the puck. He's going to blow the whistle dead and say the puck did not cross the line. And there is a familiar sight as Igor Shesterkin complaining to the referee about some traffic in his crease. I don't want to bash on guys. I do not, and I will not continue to continuously bash on guys. But him and Jordan Binnington are the two biggest talkers in the National Hockey League when it comes to goaltenders. He did keep it out there. A good job to do that for him, but very close for the Pittsburgh Penguins first line to tying this thing up. It looks like Anthony Beauvillier was playing net front there as Sidney Crosby not embarrassed, but he shrugged off one of the Rangers defensemen as the third line comes out for this offensive zone faceoff. A shot from the point is going to go wide. It ends up going back to Ryan Graves, and he's going to send it back down. McGroarty tries to play the puck. It gets past his stick. It goes over to Jesse Puljujärvi, coming off of a great preseason as Puljujärvi. He sends it over to McGroarty, who puts it up to Graves. Graves goes back down to McGroarty. He finds Puljujärvi. A shot open. Oh, I thought that was coming out to Rutger McGroarty, but instead it bounces to the New York Rangers and out of harm's way. Want to quick highlight this from Dabton. Shout out to everybody that is currently in Florida and the surrounding areas that it could be affected by the hurricane that's coming up. Hope you're safe. You have family down there, says Dabton, who decided to ride it out. I have a couple friends that I was in contact with earlier. They're over at a friend's house and they're trying to ride it out as well. So obviously we're hoping for the best with that hurricane. We're hoping for the best with everybody down in Florida. They're showing a replay of this opportunity here. Rutger McGroarty gives it to Jesse Puljujärvi, and Puljujärvi, just that quick shot, almost looking for a pass off the pads. You look at how low that shot was from Jesse Puljujärvi. There was nothing that he was looking for there besides a nice little kick out, and you saw McGroarty streaking towards the net. It just wasn't on the correct angle when it came off of Shesterkin's pads. You got to give him credit. That was by design on his end. Fourth line goes out there to start this shift as play resumes with about 11 minutes remaining in the first period. I thought it was interesting there. I like the fact that you're given that third line an offensive zone shift early. Obviously a couple days ago, Kyle Dubas speaking to the media, mentioning that, with guys like this, guys like McGroarty, guys like Cody Glass, they want to change their outlook on the bottom six and how they deploy their bottom six. Last year, it was a lot of, you're going to start in the defensive zone and your objective is to not give up goals and to get out of the defensive zone and set up offensive zone shifts for the first line and for the second line. This year, he mentioned, he wants them to be able to start utilizing that skill set, their skills, their talents, their offensive abilities, because that's what they need out of their third and fourth lines this year is more offense. So you see that early on in the first 10 minutes of the season. You see an opportunity for McGroarty and Eller and Puljujarvi getting that offensive zone start instead of one of the top two lines. Speaking of the top two lines, Crosby is back out there again with his line, and he gets an opportunity as he goes flying behind the net, shot on goal, and is staved by Igor Shesterkin. Just notice a little difference here. Obviously, we got the new jerseys from Fanatics, which I'm sure somebody will ask a question about that because everybody loves that. But it looks like the Pittsburgh Penguins, or at the very least, Sidney Crosby, has a gold CCM logo on the front of his helmet. Again, small thing that means nothing to probably a lot of people. And as they're showing him on the bench now, yeah, him and Anthony Beauvillier, I'm assuming it's the whole team at that point, gold for the CCM on the helmet. I mean, Crosby is a creature of habit. I don't know if he'd be too willing and open to that, but I'm sure that's something that's a mandate. Here's an opportunity for Cody Glass. He danced around a defenseman. He shoots it, and it's deflected wide, but a nice move there by the Penguins' fourth line center as they set up in the offensive zone. Karlsson takes it, shoots it from the point, deflected wide in front by Noel Acciari. Acciari coming off of a good preseason where he scored 4 goals. Good opportunity there. Fed from Kevin Hayes over to Cody Glass, and once again on his angle is Igor Shesterkin. The Penguins, after that goal, have taken control of this game. They just haven't been able to beat the Russian netminder. This was a nice pass there from Kevin Hayes to find Cody Glass across the crease, and it just looked like he was just right on his angle. A good play by Igor Shesterkin, proving why he is one of the best in the game, proving why he is a former Vezina Trophy winner, but a nice opportunity there for Cody Glass, who is trying to earn his opportunity here. Beaver wants to know, am I going to show the game? No, I legally can't. Legally can't show the game. And speaking of the game, there is another goal there, 2-0, as number 50, which I believe is Coyle, at least it was last year. Yep, Coyle or Cooley, however you want to say it. But another shot beats Tristan Jarry. And just like that, the New York Rangers are up by a score of 2-0. Beaver, I'll tell you this, and I don't know if it works in Canada, but this is what I use whenever I can't stream something. Go to Stream East. I don't want to tell you to leave the stream. I'd prefer and love it if you stayed here. But if you want to watch the game, check out Stream East just type that in Google. You should be able to find the actual game feed that I can't show here. I'm not able to show here because that is illegal. But 2-0 is the score. Not a good start for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I was just saying, it looks like we might have a review here coming up. Maybe an offsides review, maybe a goaltender interference review. I don't have the audio, but maybe I should turn on the subtitles here. Not typically a subtitle guy, but whenever there's no audio, could probably could probably come in handy. Yep, they're definitely looking at this for an offsides. Ooh, first look, it looks like it might have been offsides. Streameries got taken down, but I mean, I used it on Sunday to watch the Steelers, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Zach Attack says Jarry should have saved it. He might get bailed out here because from what I'm seeing, which is obviously the TV stream, the TV is definitely looks like it's offside. Let's see. This is going to be a good view here down the blue line. There you go, Thor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do here. That they have the replay up. They just got to hit play on it, and they didn't even go to that. Come on, TNT. Like typically, TNT to me is the better of the two, right? It's the better of the two. But you showed the down the line camera angle, paused, ready to go. Then you went to the furthest one away. I don't know what we're doing here, guys. We got to clean it up. I know it's the debut for them as well. But, oh, well, I mean, either way, I'd like to see the replay of the goal too, because a lot of people are in here, all things hockey, saying, Jarry, my man, come on. He looks like I mean, that is a goal, though, that if you're on your angle, you should be able to save. We got the answer coming up here. No goal. Oh, Penguins luck out a little bit. That goes offsides, and the Penguins video team, who has been very good historically. The Penguins review team has been at points last year. I remember on a couple of occasions mentioning, yeah, they were probably one of the stars of the game because they were the only people that were doing their job correctly. So they're 1-for-1 this year. Big moment in this one, 10 minutes into the game. That goal gets called back because of an offside. So a little bit of help next As Brandon says, I echo this sentiment. Huge moment in this one. You have to score that next goal. So you definitely have to, respond. And here's the thing. Before that goal went in, the Penguins had responded. A lot of the play was in the offensive zone. They were getting opportunities. Shesterkin was being challenged on multiple occasions. Just weren't able to beat them. And then that first, looks like almost pretty much the first rush coming back the other way. And the New York Rangers were able to pot one behind Jarry. So a lucky break there as they're able to avoid going down 2-0 early in this one as they come back, trying to respond with their second line. Evgeni Malkin gets out at the Grzelcyk. Grzelcyk's shot looked like it might have been off the end of his stick as it just innocently goes by Igor Shesterkin. Grzelcyk gets the puck again, rotates down low to Bunting, tried to go out in front to Rakell. He had him, but there was about two blue shirts in between them. Couldn't get the puck through as there's an opportunity for Michael Bunting as he sends it over to Evgeni Malkin. Malkin's on milestone watch tonight. Not just one, multiple milestones potentially for Evgeni Malkin tonight. He is 2 goals away from hitting 500 on the career. He is 2 assists away from hitting 800 on the career, and he is 4 points away. So, he could hit all 3 milestones tonight. If he does, it'll be a fun stream here because he'll have a 4-point night, and you would hope that they would win if they had a 4-point night from Evgeni Malkin. But he'd be at 1,300 points total if he's able to notch 4 on the day. So we're about halfway home here in the first period. Just to let everybody know that's on the stream, first and foremost, thank you so much for tuning in to this live stream watch along of the Penguins season opener. Pens trailing 1-0 to the New York Rangers here, just about 10 minutes into play. But make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Typically, we have new episodes out every Tuesday and Thursday, breaking down all of the news and analysis of the week. We also have Wednesday afternoon live streams at 2 o'clock every Wednesday afternoon, where we answer all of the listener questions, which if you're in this stream right now, make sure you drop your questions and we'll make sure to answer them. And if you have any questions for one Hunter Hodies, make sure you drop that in the comment section below as well. He'll be joining me during the first intermission. Hopefully the Penguins can tie it up before then. But I think the one thing that you've noticed early in this game is, at the very least, it looks like the Penguins have their legs. It looks like they avoided the slow start that plagued them a lot of last season. It was just that one redirection goal that they gave up about 3 minutes in. And of course, looking out with that overturned offsides goal from Coyle. But I think the one thing that I want to do here as we look to pop up their lineup here once again, the thing that I like the most about this lineup is really the flexibility. And that's something that they have had in the past. Obviously, last year you looked and said, well, Riley Smith bounced up and down lines, even though that was not really because of a good reason. But I look at this lineup right now, and yeah, Anthony Beauvillier is starting the season with Sidney Crosby, and that's primarily due to the fact that Brian Rust is out with a lower body injury. But the way he performed in preseason, I wouldn't mind seeing Jesse Puljujärvi get an opportunity up there. I wouldn't mind seeing Rutger McGroarty get an opportunity up there. Based on what I've seen, I wouldn't mind seeing Cody Glass get an opportunity up there. So I think that it's not just the ability to kind of move players around, but it's the ability to move players around and be confident that they're actually going to be good. They don't need to play so far above their standards to fit in and be in that position. So that's what I like a lot about this. Like I mentioned, Puljujärvi and McGroarty and Beauvillier, I like those additions a lot, and I like the fact that they can move up and down the lineup. As play has resumed here with just about 8.5 minutes to play. Looks like the Crosby line is back out there on the ice. They're in the defensive zone, but it looks like they're going for a shift change because Filip Chytil is all by his lonesome and surrounded by Pittsburgh Penguins. The Pens do gain control, and they come out with the puck looking to get an opportunity. Here is looking like Lars Eller goes around the net. He's fending off Filip Chytil as well. Jack St. Ivany, who's back in the lineup, finished last year strong, getting another opportunity as he makes the team for the first time out of training camp. Whipped around in front by Lars Eller. They tried that, the fourth line, I should say, tried that a couple shifts back, and it was a great opportunity is what it led to for Cody Glass. They try that again. Nobody home this time for the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was Lars Eller looking for, from the looks of it, it was a defenseman pinching up. McGroarty is able to get the puck off of his stick and get it over to Lars Eller. These guys are going to need to change soon. Matt Grzelcyk, for the second time, whiffs on a shot. Grzelcyk, listen, he wasn't brought over for his offense. Let's just put it that way. Second time he's fanned on a shot. Maybe a little bit of jitters. First game in a new uniform. He spent his entire career with the Boston Bruins. So this is a little bit different for him. Same colors, black and gold. Evgeni Malkin gets through the zone, sends it over to McGroarty, and McGroarty sends it on net. I believe that was Bunting, with a nice shot on net. A great blocker save there by Igor Shesterkin. But yeah, I was talking about Jack St. Ivany a couple minutes ago. Him, I'm very excited about. I mean, Brandon Rickner says St. Ivany buried that guy. This is a kid that, came up last year in a very big moment too. Let's not forget, whenever he came up to the Pittsburgh Penguins, it was essentially, you need to win out to make the postseason. And the Penguins had obviously a bunch of different names on that third pairing all season long. And what did St. Ivany do in his first experience at the National Hockey League level? Well, I don't know. Nothing but just come in here and solidify a position that had been kind of shaky for 70 games. So I think the one thing that I've really liked from him is just his kind of calm demeanor. If he can add that physical game that Brandon's talking about, he's obviously a pretty big body, but if he can be a little bit more of a physical defenseman, Penguins fans absolutely will love this guy. I mean, the Penguins fans are yearning for anybody to play physically for the Pittsburgh Penguins blue line. And that's why a lot of people were upset at John Ludwig being lost to waivers. But if St. Ivany can add that to his game, because he's already got the defensive aspect down so far. I mean, again, you have to wait and see what this season has in store. Can he handle the rigors of a full 82-game NHL season? Does he fade into the back a little bit? Does that physicality get a little bit too much? A nice shot there by Nola Chari, but it was turned aside by a Rangers defenseman before it got to the net. Penguins out shooting the Rangers 8-5 so far. A pretty good job on the defensive zone. And really, the defensive zone has just been puck possession for the Penguins. That's the best defense that they've had. And, we've talked about it ad nauseum at times. That's what they want to do. That's the defense they want to play, is 200 feet away from their net. That way, nothing can get past Tristan Jarry instead of seemingly everything, like we've seen earlier this time. But Jack St. Ivany is a guy that, I questioned whether or not he would make the team. Good opportunity there for Drew O'Connor as he gets in. He had Sid wide open at the side of the net. That was a great opportunity for a patented Sidney Crosby redirection goal, but they just couldn't get the puck to him. And now the New York Rangers take it in the offensive zone. Good defensive stick there by Beauvillier to send the Rangers back into the neutral zone. Otherwise, it would have been a great opportunity for Jones on their blue line. The one thing, this is the first time I'm doing a watch along on Tip of the Ice-Burgh, which I hope everybody's enjoying this one. Like I said, drop your questions in the comment section. Let's have this be a discussion. It doesn't have to just be me talking at you. We want it to be kind of like we're sitting on the couch together. Although, I do like having the elbow room on my couch. I want to make it feel like we're sitting on the couch together. So throw in your questions. Let's start a conversation here, especially for when we bring on guys like, Hunter Hodies. And as I mentioned already, Jeff Taylor will join us in the second intermission. Oh, great opportunity comes out to Jesse Puljujärvi. But man, Igor Shesterkin he's on his angles right now. He came out there very quickly, good adjustment, and he swallows that up right in the crest. But a good opportunity there is Lars Eller sends a beautiful pass over to Puljujärvi, and it was a bouncing puck. It bounced off his stick, took about 2 or 3 flutters in the air, and then it finally settled. If he could have gotten that off as a one-timer, that could have been a much more dangerous opportunity. But that one split second with a goaltender like Igor Shesterkin is going to allow him to get on his angle and allow him to make that save look easy, swallowing it up right in his gut. So like I mentioned, we got plenty of good guests that are joining the show today. Hopefully we get some goals here that we can discuss, some things for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But we have Hunter Hodies of Locked On Penguins coming up at the first intermission mark. And then we also have Jeff Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly Game Day podcast coming up in the second intermission. He might stay to the first break, commercial break of the third period. Christopher says, God, I hope New York doesn't pay Shesterkin. It'd be great if they didn't pay Shesterkin and he just said, you know what? I'll take less money to go to Pittsburgh. That's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. I think that this is probably going to end in a similar fashion to what we saw up in Boston with Jeremy Swayman, that it just at some point he's going to sign the contract, right? Shesterkin, he's the guy in New York. And I think I said it. I don't think I said it on this live stream. I think I said this earlier in the day on that separate Tip of the Ice-Burgh live. the New York Rangers have made their entire kind of persona around goaltenders. They built around a goaltender for nearly 2 decades with Henrik Lundqvist. And when Lundqvist was gone, at first we thought it was Alexander Georgiev. I remember those couple of months where I said, man, Georgiev is the future for the Rangers. And one of my buddies texted me, Rangers fan, and said, if you think Georgiev is good, wait till this Russian kid comes up. His name is Igor. Well, I got to say, friend was right. Igor Shesterkin already has a Vezina trophy to his name. It just feels like they're going to kind of build around him for the future. If they can't build around guys like your captain defenseman in Jacob Trouba, which I think there's players on. The reason I say that is not to just disparage Jacob Trouba. I think there's players on that team that deserved it more than Trouba. Cough, cough, Chris Kreider. But certainly, I think they're going to get a deal done with Igor Shesterkin. It'd be better for the Penguins if they didn't, though. Play resumes with about 4:30 remaining in the first period of play. Penguins outshooting the New York Rangers by a total of 10-5. And as Ryan Williams says here, and also Brandon, a lot of people talking about the third line. Ryan Williams says, third line looking good early. Brandon Rickner says, early returns on the third line, solid. McGroarty not appearing out of place whatsoever, great breakout. I agree. Here's the thing with McGroarty. A lot of people are going to say, he's young. Is he going to be able to handle making that jump from college to professional hockey? He's never played against men. He definitely has the size for it, for one. And for two, it's his style of play. That's the one thing about Rutger McGroarty at the University of Michigan, at the United States national team. A nice play there by Kris Letang to clear the puck out of the zone. First line coming back again. Sidney Crosby takes the puck. Good opportunity there for Drew O'Connor, who looks like he's put on a couple of pounds in the offseason in a good way. In a good way. Looks like he's bulked up a little bit, and that's what the Penguins need. They need him as a net front presence. A 3-on-2 here. Opportunity just goes wide of the stick. That could have been dangerous for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The pass just airmailed. Otherwise, it would have been a 2-0 lead. And that time, I don't even think the Penguins video crew could have saved them. It looked like that was a clean play right in, 3-on-2, backdoor pass, and it looks like a Penguins defender was just a little bit late to his assignment. But fortunately for them, the puck innocently caroms away. Penguins here trying to get something going with their fourth line in the defensive zone. Will they be able to replicate what they got defensively from last year's fourth line? I know Jansen Harkins didn't do anything offensively, but at the very least, he wasn't horrible in his own zone. But yeah, certainly third line looking good. Rutger McGroarty looking good. I saw there was a question here. Zach Attack says, does McGroarty play tomorrow too or only today? I would have to imagine McGroarty ends up playing tomorrow as well. Simply because Kyle Dubas said 2 days ago, we're not going to keep him up here to sit in the press box. If we wanted him to sit in the press, we didn't want him to play with the Penguins organization, if we didn't want him to play, we'd put him down in the AHL so he could actually get some games under his belt. So I believe he's going to be in the lineup. The only healthy scratch at the moment is Valtteri Puustinen, who I'm very high on. If you followed Tip of the Ice-Burgh long enough, you know that I planted my flag with Valtteri Puustinen being a good contributor to this team a couple years back when he was lighting it up in the American Hockey League level. Pounded the table for him to get an opportunity last season. 5 goals, 20 assists in 52 games. He looked pretty good. Nice save there by Tristan Jarry. That came in off a redirection. He kicks it out, but it looks like the Rangers are finally going to get something set up here for the first time in this first period. Pens looking to get out of the zone. Karlsson banks it over to Pettersson. Pettersson to Eller, and it looks like that's going to do it. Eller gets it out. McGroarty takes it into the offensive zone, looking for Erik Karlsson, who's up in the play. And there's a welcome to the NHL moment there for Rutger McGroarty. He was planted into the boards, but here is a 2-on-1. You have the one defender back that you want, but it ends up going in the back of the net. Marcus Pettersson just can't catch up to Alexis Lafreniere, and he pulls it, toe drags past him, and he beats Tristan Jarry 5-hole. This is not a good start for Tristan Jarry. That's one that you need to save. If you want to be a starting goaltender in this league, you need to make that save if you're Tristan Jarry. Lafreniere, I mean, you look at how it started in the offensive zone. Lars Eller gets stick-picked by Artemi Panarin. Lafreniere takes it in. Pettersson, that's defensively covered in all angles. I mean, Pettersson goes down, which you hate when players go down because he's trying to defend that 2-on-1, but this is exactly the thing that's dangerous about that. Pettersson ends up just sliding past the player, and Lafreniere can toe drag it, get the opportunity. and he beats Tristan Jarry with a second bad goal. We might see Joel Blomqvist make his NHL debut tonight if Tristan Jarry can't get things figured out, because that is the second consecutive weak goal. One of them came off the board, but that's 3 goals allowed by Tristan Jarry. Just 2 that are going to end up on the score sheet. Looks like the Penguins are coming back with their second line. Malkin, Bunting, Raquel. They need a goal before the end of this period. That would be huge for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But yes, McGroarty should play tomorrow in Detroit. Sorry, got to figure that one. You got to make sure I add that one. It looks like another odd man rush for the New York Rangers. We got a defenseman coming back. A forward coming back, and that's Rickard Rakell. He ends up making the play in the defensive zone. A good job by him, but he turns the puck over. And here come the New York Rangers once again. It looks like number 90 sends it over to Jones. Jones slap shot redirected up into the meshing, and that's going to force a stop of play. 1:55 remaining in the first period of play here. New York Rangers 2, Pittsburgh Penguins 0. And in a first period where it looked like the Penguins had controlled a lot of this pace of play, it's 10-10 in shots and 2-0 in goals. Was this puck? It wasn't redirected at all. Jarry just gets beat. And they're highlighting Jesse Puljujärvi for putting his stick in the shooting lane for that one. It didn't hit Puljujärvi's stick, and if it did, I have a hard time believing that it still should have been beaten 5-hole if you're Tristan Jarry. So you got to get better from 35. If not, it's going to be a long season. Here comes a slap shot from Ryan Graves. He sends it right into the shin pads of a Rangers defender, and here come the other way. Philip Hedl over Coyle in front of the net. He just can't settle it down. That shot goes on. Tristan Jarry redirects it wide. Rangers getting a little bit of momentum, a little bit of juice here after, that goal, that could have gone into the net. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, as it was deflected off of Tristan Jarry's blocker side and it landed on top of the net. So the Penguins narrowly avoid a disaster again. Could have been down 3 goals in the last minute of the first period. Not a great start here. JT Miller. I'm sorry, not JT Miller. K'Andre Miller, the other one. He takes the puck in the offensive zone. See, this is why I don't do play-by-play very often, because, out of practice, need to do a little bit more. Christopher says, I would bench Jarry in the intermission. It's the first period. You're down 2. I don't think they're going to do that, simply because I don't think they're going to. If it was Nedeljkovic, maybe, but not with Joel Blomqvist. I just don't see them doing it with him. Let's look down here. Anything else? Beaver wants to know, does anybody actually have faith in this season? It depends, Beaver. What do you, I'm not saying your full name. Just going to tell you that right now. I'm not. I'll put it on the screen, but I'm not going to say it. What do you consider having faith? Like believing in this team to push for a playoff spot? Or is having faith in this season meaning having faith that they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to make noise? I don't know if I necessarily agree with the second half of that. But I have faith that they could push for a playoff spot. I think that they're going to be right there in the thick of things at the end of the season, just like they were last year, as we have 30 seconds remaining in this first period of play, and the Rangers are really desperately trying to get that third goal. Can't leave Zibanejad wide open. Great opportunity, but the shot just doesn't come in on net. They are pushing very hard for that third goal right now, but the Penguins just holding on by a thread. Rangers all over the Penguins here in the offensive zone. First line, it looks like, for the Rangers. Trouba shot, rebound, scores. And that is going to be Chris Kreider that puts it in the back of the net. The Pittsburgh Penguins are getting shellacked on their opening night. That second goal given up by Jarry seemed like it broke the dam. The New York Rangers were getting outplayed early in the first. They scored a goal and were still getting outplayed. They scored another goal that got taken back, and the Penguins used that to keep the momentum up. But then you give up that second goal, and the floodgates have opened. The New York Rangers all over the Penguins, and that's the third defense pairing. Ryan Graves late to his assignment there, and Chris Kreider puts the puck in the back of the net. Feel bad for Hunter Hodies jumping on. He's probably going to be in a rough mood. Penguins are down 3-0 now to the New York Rangers, and they're going to have to do some serious work to get back into this one as they drop the puck to close out this first period. 7 seconds remaining. Looks like the Rangers are just going to eat it. So that's going to be 3-0 at the end of the first period of hockey in the 2024-25 season for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not what you wanted to see if you are the guys in black and gold, and if you're trying to root for the guys in the black and gold. All Things Hockey says, hopefully this is just the first game of the year. Jitters for Tristan Jarry, and he figures it out. He's going to need to. He is going to need to. The Penguins cannot have success without good goaltending. And listen, Alex Nedeljkovic assumed that role as the starter late last season. He held down the fort. They went on a winning stretch. But if you got Tristan Jarry playing the way he's playing tonight, I don't care who you have in net unless it's a Vezina caliber goaltender, because they are not going to be able to hold down the fort that way. So end of the first period, 3-0 in favor of the New York Rangers. I want to bring up Natural Stat Trick to kind of look at the underlying numbers, because the Penguins controlled a large portion of that first period. Just couldn't get one past Igor Shesterkin. Some opportunities. I'm not going to say they had a bunch of opportunities, but at the same time, you know, you have to be able to finish a couple of those chances. I mean, Cody Glass getting that chance. Great save by Igor, but you got to put it somewhere he can't make that save. Jesse Puljujärvi couldn't settle the puck down. You wish that he would be able to get that off a little bit quicker. He couldn't. Save made by Igor Shesterkin. A lot of that happened, and then, of course, the Pittsburgh Penguins struggled to finish. But as far as shot attempts are concerned, 19-12 in favor of the New York Rangers in that period. At least at 5-on-5, I should say. Scoring chances, 5-10 in favor of the New York Rangers. Again, high danger scoring chances, 5-1 in that first period of play. No penalties in that first. That's going to be something to watch here, because I think if you're down 3-0, usually you see a little bit more desperation from one team, and sometimes that causes penalties. So that's going to be an interesting thing to follow along. No power play opportunities for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're going to need a couple. They're going to need a couple here coming up in the second and third periods if they want to climb back into this one. But Pens down 3-0. We have Hunter Hodies of the Locked On Penguins podcast joining us here in just a few moments. And like I mentioned, if you have questions, toss them in the chat here for me and or for Hunter. He will be answering some questions as well. Let's go to this one from TJ, who says, how many goals, assists, and points do you expect from McGroarty to get in his first season, assuming he plays the full 82? Goals, assists, and points. My bold prediction, which is not my level-headed prediction, it is my bold prediction a couple weeks ago, was that Rekor McGroarty was going to score 20 goals. And again, rookie season, that would be great if Rekor McGroarty netted 20 goals in his rookie season. But I think a more realistic approach is anywhere from 12 to 16 goals for Rekor McGroarty, and I would imagine he adds a handful of assists, maybe 20 to 25 assists. So what are you looking at there? Probably around 37 to 40 points for his rookie season. I think that's a fair projection for a rookie coming into his first season at the National Hockey League level. Now, he did score, I think it was 5 or 6 points in the preseason, and he played in 6 games, but he was putting up some points in the preseason on that third line. And the third line, I mean, hey, looked pretty good in the first period of play for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And as somebody else said here, let me make sure I get the right comment. I just saw it. It was everybody was good except for Jarry. Noah said everybody was fine but Jarry. I think I've given up on him. I mean, I don't know about giving up first game of the year, but certainly far from the start that you wanted to see for the Pittsburgh Penguins netminder. I mean, fortunately, you're not going to see him tomorrow. You would have to imagine it's going to be Joel Blomqvist, who is able to make his NHL debut tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. And that's right. Says he's letting in easy ones. The disallowed goal was an easy one. That second goal from Alexis Lafreniere was one that he's going to want back. Third one, I don't know what you want to do about that. That's just a defensive breakdown. First one was a redirection again. That one's tough. I mean, you got to make the saves eventually, but that one's tough. I mean, 3-0 in a period where the Penguins largely dominated is a tough one to swallow if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins. So you're hoping that they could bounce back in the second period. I wonder what Sully's saying right now. I mean, this is only the first game of the year. This is the first 20 minutes of the year. If this is a sign of things to come, then boy, I'm going to be talking a lot about a losing hockey team, but I don't think it is. I think that goaltending was one of the biggest question marks coming into the season. Still is going to be a question mark after tonight, no matter what happens the remaining 40 minutes. But I liked what I saw from the rest of the team. I mean, this New York Rangers team, let's not forget, was the President's Trophy winners last year. They are a team that is expected to be among the top 3 in the Metro Division, likely to be among the top of the Eastern Conference. So they are a good team, but I thought the Penguins outplayed them for large portions of that first period. I just have a hard time. Let's see, this last goal was scored in the last 20 seconds. You just can't let that happen. Coaches all talk about allowing goals in the first and the last minute of the game or period. The shot came on, Jarry makes the initial save, and then you can't, of all the people to lose, he's been doing it to you for a decade plus. You can't lose eyes on Chris Kreider. Ryan Graves just sunk too far back into his own zone, right into the net, and he wasn't able to get anything done there. So rough play. It was redirected a couple times, but somebody has to keep an eye and keep a bead on Chris Kreider. 3-0. And that third goal, that one's not on Jarry. As much as I want to say a lot of them were, that goal was not on Tristan Jarry at all. But if he is ready, I think it is time to bring in Hunter Hodies of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Let me try to see if I can bring this up here without making the screen freak out entirely.
Look at that.
There he is. What's going on, Hunter?
How you doing?
Well, I'd be better if I didn't just watch that period.
Especially the end of it with both Ryan Graves and Tristan Jarry just not playing well. Third goal, I listened to what you said. That one's not fully on him, but you can see like where his confidence is at the start of the game, right? Mm-hmm. He's playing deep in his net. He's not confident. He's not being aggressive. He was like that the entire period. When he's playing aggressively, he's actually challenging shooters. That's when he's at his best. And he wasn't doing that at all during the first period.
Yeah. I think the one thing that everybody in the comment section has been saying is, why is he allowing such soft goals? And that is exactly why. I mean, you nailed it right on the head. It's been the story for Tristan Jarry for years. If he's not confident, he's shot. And that's the dichotomy of a guy like Tristan Jarry. It's confident, all-star, not confident. We saw in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, he got bailed out by the challenge. That was a goal that probably can't go in, especially with the angle there. And then, with the Marcus Pettersson defensive play, I would have rather him just take Lafreniere on because it felt like the forward was back at that point. I don't really feel like that was a full 2-on-1. I think if he takes Lafreniere on there, the Rangers don't score. The slide really wasn't necessary in my opinion, but even despite that, nice move by him, but I feel like that's still a shot you got to save in that moment. You're playing mostly, I feel like, decently well for the period before that. You're getting quality chances, especially when the third line is out there, and the third line of Eller, Puljujarvi, and McGroarty, I feel like was cooking the Rangers all period. I felt like the Crosby line was playing well, but you just can't give up that backbreaker there.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been saying, will we see a new goaltender in this game? Pittsburgh Hornets throwing that in there. I mean, with sorry, that was the wrong one. Trade Graves for a bottle of water. I like that too. But here's the actual comment I meant to click on. It says, will we see a new goalie in this game? I mean, they got a game tomorrow, and that goaltender that's backup is a rookie that's never played in the National Hockey League. Makes it a little bit hard to go to him after 20 minutes.
Yeah, they're going to have to probably ride this one out with Tristan. They're going to have to, I know a lot of people aren't going to like it. They're going to have to rely on him until Nedeljkovic is ready to go. And I feel like that's getting sooner rather than later at this point. We've seen Nedeljkovic on the ice before practice, getting some time in. So I feel like he's getting close to practicing, but they're going to need him back ASAP. And that's no disrespect to Blomqvist. I'm excited for his debut on Thursday, but they have no choice but to ride Jarry out here. You don't want to put Blomqvist in here and then have him go again tomorrow. I feel like that's just too much for him overall at this point.
Now, before we get any further on Pittsburgh Penguins related discussion, Hunter, I have a bone to pick with you. I've lost a lot of respect for you on this day. No spicy food?
No, don't like it. Sorry. It burns my mouth too much, especially something that's like way too spicy. Maybe I can go for like a small bit of spice sometimes, but you know what? Screw that.
Oh, come on. I'm all over the spice. I mean, everything. Red Hot is my condiment of choice. I love tacos. I put spicy hot sauce on tacos, spicy queso, spicy everything. It's my go-to. So when I saw you tweet that out today, I said, you know what? I got to bring this up to him because a lot of the respect just went out the window.
Hey, I respect it. I don't need my mouth on fire for 30 minutes, even after I chug 2 gallons of water.
Well, you got to go with something other than water. A nice brewski will help you get rid of that sting, So, but nonetheless, still love you. Still love the Locked On Penguins podcast. Love what you and Pat are doing over there. But outside of the goaltending, I was pretty impressed with what we saw in that first period. You mentioned the third line. Shoot, the best opportunity of the period might have been a connection between Kevin Hayes and Cody Glass. So getting a little bit more offense from the fourth line has been nice as well.
That, I mean, and also the chance by Puljujarvi had a little small curl and drag there, better saved by Shesterkin, but that was still a really good, forward wise. I felt like they played decently well. I mean, I felt like the third line was the best line on the ice, and I want to see Sullivan keep icing them throughout, not even just this game, but going forward as well. I know you're going to have Brian Rust coming back soon. It looks like probably within the next week and a half, something like that. But I still want this third line to keep going out there trying to cook. And also something I noticed throughout too, Sullivan a couple of times put Malkin with Crosby. He doesn't usually do that early in the game. Usually he kind of saves that after the Penguins kill off a penalty, for example. He did it in the first period, I guess, trying to give the team a bit of a spark. I would not be surprised if he did it again in the second or third period. He put both of them with Anthony Beauvillier. It actually led to a scoring chance, better saved by Shesterkin. But I'll be curious to see if Sullivan goes back to that a bit more here, or more overall this year compared to recent years, because he usually doesn't do that often.
Yeah, the one thing that you've said a couple times already is better saved by Shesterkin. I mean, this kid is on his angles tonight, and that's the tough thing, because the Penguins, they got a couple opportunities that just haven't been able to really get him off his game, and you're going to have to do some of that east-west stuff. The Rangers are pretty good at defending that. Now, we haven't seen it yet, but a big storyline this year is going to be the Penguins' power play. We've seen a couple of schematic changes in preseason and a couple of times where it worked. What are your thoughts on the power play, and really, who do you expect to be that kind of key figure on the power play this season?
So at least from the preseason, I definitely did see a few changes. I saw more movement. I saw players not just sitting in one spot. For example, Evgeni Malkin, he's been kind of living at the point these last several years. One of the spots on the point, he was going down low. He was going to the half wall. They were moving him around, which I like. I mean, at this point, he's 38. No offense to him. He's still great on power play, still great overall. There are times at the point, especially where I don't trust him, especially when he's at the end of a shift, just because we all know how his defensive game is overall. Definitely not the strong suit for his game, but I really like that they're moving him around. I like that they're moving Crosby around. I personally want to see Letang running this from the point. I liked what he was doing during the preseason. It felt more methodical when he was at the point, and I kind of want to see them at least try to unleash both Karlsson and Letang. They talked a lot about it, during the preseason last year. Oh, we're ready to unleash both these guys on the power play. They barely played on the power play together all year. They both had their separate units. So I want to see them actually get a chance on the same unit. You can have Karlsson in the Kessel spot, and while with Karlsson, there's his play on the power play. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but I feel like in that spot right there, with how good he is as a playmaker, how good of a one-timer I think he has personally, it's something you got to utilize, in my opinion. You got to also use the net front traffic to your advantage. I saw more of that during the preseason. And if they do get some power play opportunities tonight, I would like to see those areas, emphasized. We don't need to see patty cake at the point, like we saw last year with Malkin and Karlsson passing back to each other. I want to see, better zone entries, more movement, more of a shoot first mentality. I saw that during the preseason as well, and more of a net front emphasis overall. So those are the things what I'm looking for this one.
Yeah. Now, one of the biggest storylines in this game, outside of the power play, that's going to be all season long, outside of Tristan Jarry, which, Lord, I hope that's not a story all season long. You kind of hope that kind of fades into the background. But tonight, big storyline, Rutger McGroarty making his NHL debut. Were you surprised when he made the lineup, or with the injuries, do you think it was a foregone conclusion?
I felt like with the injuries, he was definitely going to make it. I felt like if the team was fully healthy, they maybe would have thought otherwise. But he still, at least overall, in my opinion, he deserved to make this team with the camp that he had, with the preseason that he had. I thought he started out a little bit slow, but that's kind of natural for a player his age. But that final week of camp and preseason, I thought he really solidified himself, at least right now, as one of the 12 best forwards on this team. He was great on the third line with Eller and Puljujarvi, especially to end the preseason. He very much deserved to make this team. And, I understand when this team hopefully gets more healthy with Blake Lizotte, Brian Rust, there's a chance that he could go down to Wilkes-Barre. I don't want people to be mad about that, because if he does, he'll be getting those top line minutes, and then he will be coming back full time later on in the season for good. I think if he goes back to Wilkes-Barre, it's not going to be for long, and then he'll get the call for good. He's not going to be a player that bounces up and down between those two teams, but I'm definitely not surprised that he made it, and I actually have really liked his play tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough decision there for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, you look at Brian Rust, who's already back at practice. He's probably going to be back sooner rather than later. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with Blake Lizotte. Concussions are, take it from personal experience, concussions are impossible to figure out. So, they'll have some decisions to make. What do they do with Valtteri Puustinen, who is a healthy scratch in tonight's game, but he'll have to go through waivers, which is a new wrinkle to that entire thing. So they certainly have some interesting conversations and decisions coming up as the season gets underway. But one of the biggest things going into the season now is they're playing a lot of hockey in October, 12 games in the first half month. I mean, you look at, it's already October 9th. We're a week in, and they're still going to play a dozen games, more than almost anybody in the National Hockey League. And that includes a Canadian road trip here next week. That includes the Western Canadian road trip. I know they go out west. I'm trying to think if they go west south or west north, but I think they go out there and play Edmonton and Winnipeg and Calgary. So it's going to be a tough start to the season schedule wise. When you look at the last two seasons, the Penguins have missed the playoffs by 1 point and 3 points respectively. And a lot of people, myself, yourself included, kind of point to that slow start at the beginning of the year. How important is it for them to hit the ground running this year? Obviously, the first 20 minutes aren't a great sign of things to come, but how important is it that they bounce back from that first period and have a good first month?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, you got to bank the points when you can to start the season. 2 points now, it means the same, in the later parts of the season overall. So I know the schedule to start is pretty daunting. After this, you go to Detroit tomorrow to take on a Red Wings team that is also trying to make the playoffs this year. You then have the Toronto game in Toronto, and then you have, I believe it's Montreal after that, Nick, if I'm not mistaken. So overall, to start the season, you have 3 games in 4 nights. That itself is not easy. Then you go to Montreal. Then you have, I believe, Carolina next week as well, if I recall correctly. And you're right, you do have that early West Coast trip. And personally, I like that they can get that out of the way. I really think it's better to get those teams early compared to later in the year. And yeah, I mean, Calgary is not going to be that good this year. Seattle will have to see as well. But I'd rather play a team like Vancouver and Edmonton early compared to a lot later in the year when those two teams are firing on all cylinders, because I think those two teams are bona fide Stanley Cup contenders. That's why even like tonight, I felt like it was a good time to get the Rangers early, and I was liking the way the Penguins are playing overall forwards wise, but they just haven't been getting the goaltending, and they've been kind of out to lunch defensively, at least in that first period. So, rebounding at least these last 40 minutes, and especially tomorrow night, and going forward, very prudent if this team definitely wants to get back to the playoffs. And also just making sure you defend those third period leads. They lost quite a few leads last year, whether it was 1 goal, 2 goals, heck, even 3 goals at times. So you want to be sure that you're banking the points that you can to start out. So, when there's a random Tuesday game in January or February against one of the worst teams in the league and you drop it, it doesn't mean as much because you were able to bank points early.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Bonehead said here. He said, hopefully with playing so many games in October, they get a cohesive group and they'll find their game. So that's exactly what you're hoping happens. Again, whether or not that does, that's up to the Penguins here. But it is the start of the second period. I appreciate you jumping on. You can stay if you want, but I know you want to get back to watching the game. So I will let you go. Before you do, let everybody know what's coming up on Locked On Penguins podcast with you and Patrick Dam.
Yeah, so Pat and I are going to recap this game tomorrow for the Thursday episode, and then we'll preview the game against Detroit as well. And then Friday, recap that game for you all, and then get everyone set for the Dubas Bowl on Saturday against the Maple Leafs. And then next week, we'll recap that game, get everyone set for Montreal, and so on and so forth. But we're really excited that the season is back underway. It's been 6 long months at this point, buddy. So I'm just really glad we have regular season hockey to talk about. And you and Nick, keep up the great work here. You guys do a tremendous job as well.
Well, appreciate you, and as always, and appreciate you joining us for the first intermission recap and a little bit of discussion. But that is Hunter Hodies of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Thanks so much, buddy. Second period underway here between the Penguins and the New York Rangers. Pens have a lot of work to do to climb back into this one. 3-0 is the deficit for them as they start the second period. Appreciate Hunter coming on as always. I'm curious because I can't be alone in this one. Hunter said earlier today, and we alluded to it in that little interview. Hunter said earlier today that he's big no on spicy foods. In the comments, am I alone? I love spicy food. Anything that's spicy, phenomenal. Also, yes, Randy, 1967 was the last time the Leafs won a Stanley Cup, also known as when there was like 7 teams in the NHL. So just a little bit of shade thrown back because obviously there's been a couple of shade coming in here. We say he's in the minority. I like that. We got in the middle. Okay. There we go. Degas 222. Spicy food makes life easier. I'll tell you right now, as we get our first penalty of the game, looks like Drew O'Connor is going off for nothing. I'm interested to see what this penalty call is for tripping. Missed call, NHL refs back in regular season form. But spicy food does make life better. If I wasn't on a live stream, not going to lie, would probably be eating hot wings right now. So definitely. But first power play of the season goes to the New York Rangers. Opportunity there for Artemi Panarin, and the puck is cleared out of way. The Penguins, this is one of the areas that they can actually hope transfers over from last year. They can hope they can replicate what they did last year because, well, they were top 10 in the National Hockey League all season long, finished at that number 10 slot, but it was one of their only consistent groups last year, spearheaded by this man, Marcus Pettersson, who takes the puck and sends it over for Jack St. Ivany, a young kid getting some penalty kill 1 reps. He sends it up. You can't do that. It's turned over. Here comes Adam Fox, gives it over to Zibanejad. Zibanejad goes cross ice. That puck is redirected in the area of Artemi Panarin. The Rangers get it back. It goes over to Panarin. Panarin waits, sends it over to Zibanejad. He whiffs on the shot, and it looks like Cody Glass is the player to send it out of harm's way. 1 minute killed, 1 minute to go on the phantom penalty on Drew O'Connor. That was a tripping call that I think at full speed might have looked like a tripping call. I didn't see it at full speed. I saw it on the replay as the Penguins clear this one out as well. 45 seconds remaining as Igor Shesterkin stick handles the puck behind his own net. Bradley Vision wants to know, do we see a Jarry buyout this summer? Now, I'm not even going to go to Puckpedia and see what the buyout numbers are for Jarry, but 3 years left at $5+ million. It's not pretty. And if we all remember, whenever Kyle Dubas was first brought into the Pittsburgh Penguins, there was a player that could have been bought out in Mikael Granlund. He didn't buy him out because he doesn't like buying players out. He wants to continue to keep that cap space open, so I don't think you see him bought out. I think you're more likely to see him be put on the trade block. The question is there anybody that's going to want to take him? That's going to have to be what we find out. Dapton says, I'm 8 seconds behind now. We're falling behind further and further. That's not a good sign. Well, hopefully it starts racking up here as the Penguins scoring goals, and I can react to that behind a little bit here. But Penguins kill the first penalty of the year. Matt Grzelcyk tries to find the puck. It ends up being under Tristan Jarry's glove. But the Penguins do get a kill. A lot of shots on goal there for the New York Rangers. They now lead 17-10. At one point, the Penguins led in the shots on goal counter 10-5. So the last 12 shots on goal belong to the red, white, and blue. Not a good thing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They need to catch their, they need to catch their footing before they fall behind more than 3-0. Because if they do, man, it's going to be a long couple of hours here talking about a game that is no longer competitive. Shot on goal there is turned aside by Tristan Jarry as the Penguins try to get something going now after they killed that penalty. That was sent down by the Rangers, so fortunately not an icing call. Pens, their third line looked good. There's Malkin swooping in, trying to get an opportunity. He's not able to get it to the net, and the Rangers do get that one out of play, but Malkin having his legs is not a bad sign at all, as the Penguins need to start turning this around and getting more offensive zone time, because the Rangers have just controlled the last, probably including the last 5. Oh, geez. The Rangers have attempted the last 15 shots on goal, according to TNT's broadcast. So not a good start to this period for the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's going to be an offside on Drew O'Connor. Stopping play 4 minutes into this second period of play. So Pens need to get it going. Another thank you goes out to Hunter Hodies for joining the live stream. We're going to have another guest in the second intermission, which is Jeff Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly game day podcast. You can check him anywhere you get your podcasts from. You can also check Locked On Penguins with Hunter Hodies and Patrick Damp anywhere you get your podcasts from as well. We got a question here from Light, and like I mentioned, toss in your conversations, toss in your questions. We'll try to get to every single one of them tonight before this game is over, at least timing-wise, before the game is over, not realistically whether or not it's competitive, because that might be over sooner rather than later. Penn's trying to push back, though, a little bit here. But Light wants to know, is Ryan Graves really that bad? Last year, yes, he was. This year so far, preseason, yes, he has been. So it has been like that. Is somebody just ran over Tristan Jarry. There's a penalty coming. Matt Grzelcyk is in the territory. Anthony Beauvillier getting in there. A little bit of a scrap from Coyle, who scored the disallowed goal in the first period for the New York Rangers. So it looks like there's a penalty here. Will that be goaltender interference, or are they going to call interference on Grzelcyk? It looks like they're escorting the Ranger player to the penalty box. So Penguins getting the opportunity on the power play. We talked about it with, I'm just looking at the replay here. Yeah, there was no reason for Coyle to go over Tristan Jarry like that. Just stupid penalty. If they do indeed call it, because he was not pushed in whatsoever. He just ran over the goaltender. So I'm not exactly sure what the point of that one was, and I wish somebody would have given him a little pop there. You need a little bit of grit and grind, and that's what you lose when you lose a guy like John Ludwig. But they are going to call interference, and the Penguins go on the Powerball power play is what they call it. I shouldn't say that because we don't do free ads here, but they go on the power play for the first time this season. Sidney Crosby is out there, it looks like. Kris Letang is out there as he turns the puck over and it comes into the neutral zone, Evgeni Malkin, Rickard Rakell, and Erik Karlsson. So that is your first unit. Let's see what they can do on their first opportunity. That redirection there is going nowhere. The Penguins, it's looking a little disjointed here in the first power play opportunity. That puck comes out to center, and Kris Letang retrieves it, getting hounded by Mika Zibanejad. They go back into the zone. Maybe an opportunity here as Erik Karlsson has some space. Defender goes down on the ice. Karlsson waits it past. Opportunity, shot, save made by Shesterkin. A great chance for Evgeni Malkin in the low slot as the New York Rangers take it out to center ice and dump it in behind Tristan Jarry. A good opportunity there for Evgeni Malkin streaking down the side. A good play by Erik Karlsson to continue to keep the puck on a rope, get around the defender, and set up Malkin for that one-timer in the middle of the zone. Unfortunately for him, just an even better save, as Hunter Hodies continued to say, by Igor Shesterkin. Second unit out there now, Matt Grzelcyk sends it over to Puljujarvi. Looks like Puljujarvi pulls the trigger. That is Kevin Hayes, and that one is turned aside again by Igor Shesterkin. So the first power play unit goes out there for just about a minute as they're showing a replay here of that opportunity. Beautiful pass by Erik Karlsson. Looks like both Rakell and Malkin tried to hack at that one. Do get it on net, but a nice save there as it just hits the pads of Igor Shesterkin. Let's go down to, actually, let's finish this power play before we answer any more questions. That shot on net is high for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're trying to set something up, and the puck comes out to the neutral zone again. So second unit out there. First unit didn't really ever get to set up. They did get that opportunity, which is what you want to see, but they really weren't able to set up, looked a little disjointed. Part of that might be that Erik Karlsson didn't get any game reps, any live game reps with them in the preseason. He did get some practice reps over the past week, but you can only get so much in practice. So definitely going to have to see some more from that. Just realized I've been keeping Light's comment up the whole time. Is Graves really that bad? But we have about 8 seconds remaining on the Penguins power play here. We mentioned at the end of the first period, no penalties. That was something that was going to change. Well, Rangers got their first opportunity. Now the Penguins have their first opportunity. Neither can get an opportunity there, but Michael Bunting, backdoor, trying to deflect it in. Instead, he redirects it up and out of play. Penguins 0 for 1 on the power play to start the 2024-25 season. Would have loved to see them get the opportunity to start 1 for 1. Would have been nice little feather in the cap for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but instead they are 0 for 1 and they maintain that 3-goal deficit as they head to break. Let's go to That's Right, who wants to know who would trade for Tristan Jarry. You'd almost have to eat salary. You might. I know that is something Kyle Dubas does not want to do. I mean, that's part of the whole buyout situation where he said he doesn't want to keep money on the Penguins books year over year over year. This is a bad start to judge a goaltender based on one period of play. And I understand he has the track record of struggling as well. He finished last year as the backup for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and yet he's making $5+ million. Not what you want to see, but you would have to have it be a trade. And if you're Dubas, you almost need to take advantage of a team that has no other options. A team like maybe the Utah Hockey Club, they started their season last night. They get the victory over the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm not overly confident in their goaltending. They might be. I just think that if they end up being a surprise playoff team late into this season, he performs better than he is, which, again, one period of play, that's the type of team that you look to trade him to, a team that wants that better goaltender, that guy that could come in, has shown in the NHL that he couldn't be that bona fide one. But again, he has to show that he's that guy again, and other teams have to be that needy. I think that's the only way. It's going to be teams like that, or if a goaltender goes down due to injury, say, I don't want to say the Rangers because I really like Jonathan Quick as their backup, but say like the Tampa Bay Lightning lose Andrei Vasilevsky. I mean, that's going to be tough to swallow because he has a big contract. But as I'm trying to think about it, maybe a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's more in line with what could potentially be the case here. You know, if that ends up being the case, that'd be a crazy, crazy trade. But again, the team would have to be needy, and the Penguins would have to have seen some pretty good things from Jarry, but yet still understand that they're not going to get the best out of him for the next 4 years. Play is resumed on TNT. Penguins down 3-0, outshot 18-12, and both teams have gotten a power play opportunity in this period so far. Neither have come to fruition when it comes to scoring power play goals. Got a couple of comments here. Want to double check a couple of these comments. What does everybody have to say? A Pittsburgh fan, Patrick, says, missed the first period on the way home from work. Glad I only missed a few minutes of the second. I guess I missed an awful first. You really didn't. I mean, the scoreboard says you did. But the Penguins, for, I would say, 15 of those 20 minutes, outplayed the New York Rangers. But they just gave up a couple of odd man rushes, and Tristan Jarry gave up a couple of weak goals. Not the third one, but the third one when you give up a goal with only 11 seconds left, that's weak on the entire team's part. But it wasn't a bad first period. Like, they weren't getting dominated by any stance of the word. So you didn't miss a horrible first period. You just missed horrible goaltending in that first period. Penguins trying to get something going here. It looks like Crosby and Malkin out there again. And I mean, Hunter mentioned this in the first intermission. We saw it a little bit in the first period. We're seeing it here again in the second period. If Mike Sullivan is already going to that well of we need to put Crosby and Malkin on the ice together, it's not like the Penguins have been on the penalty kill for a large portion of this game. It has been 2 minutes that they have been on the penalty kill of the 28 in this game. That's not a good sign. It is not a good sign. He's trying to spark something when you're down 3-0. I understand it, but this is not a card that Mike Sullivan plays as much as, say, Dan Bilesma used to. So seeing him go to that well 28 minutes into the NHL season is certainly something that's going to be a very interesting storyline to follow throughout the season if they start falling behind. A lot of people saying Rutger plays a 50-foot game. Guys, this is a 20-year-old's NHL debut. He is not inept in the defensive zone. That's also the reason that they put him with guys like Jesse Puljujärvi, a guy like Lars Eller. It's to help him out in that defensive zone. He is a 20-year-old. It takes some time to learn how to play the defensive game in the NHL. Look at Sidney Crosby. His best defensive years weren't until year 10, 11, and 12. Now, that is one example. I'm not saying it's going to take 12 years for Rutger McGroarty to find a defensive game, but it's going to take a little bit more than 20 minutes of play. So I understand defensively, didn't look great in that first period. I'd say take it easy on the kid because it is his NHL debut, and it's going to take a second for him to acclimate to the speed and playing up against guys that are like the New York Rangers top forwards. Let's see what else we got down here in the question department. Ryan Williams says, who would you want as the fifth guy on Power Play 1 outside of the 4 future Hall of Famers? I like O'Connor, Jarvis. I'm imagining you're saying Jesse Puljujärvi and Rutger McGroarty. I don't think Rutger's going to be on the first power play this year. I think that's a big step for a kid to make, maybe by the end of the year, but even then, I think that is a massive step to take for a young guy. Looks like nice opportunity there for Michael Bunting. And once again, a glove save. Somebody's doubled over, and it is Michael Bunting. Gotta wonder if they're going to even show us that, but it looks like he got hit low, maybe. Let's see what we got here for the replay. Well, there's definitely a tripping that was missed. Jesse Puljujärvi going to the bench was tripped up, and there was a non-call there. We'll see it real good here was Artemi Panarin. Okay, it was his hip. It wasn't really anything, so it's not a missed call there. Just unfortunate running into a defender. But a good opportunity there for Michael Bunting, just unable to beat Igor Shesterkin, who's been on his game. You know, it's going to be hard to beat him 3 times in this game. So you're going to, especially more than that. So you're going to need Tristan Jarry to be perfect in the remainder of this one. Maybe that'll make everybody feel better if he's able to follow up his first period with back-to-back blanked periods for this game. But who would I want to be the number 5 guy? I think it's the guy that's out there right now. I mean, yes, you can make an argument for Brian Rust. I certainly would make the argument for Brian Rust, but I like Rickard Rakell on that unit. You saw him score a couple of goals on the power play in the preseason, but that's not why I want him out there. I want him out there because 2 years ago, he scored 11 power play goals. He tied for the team lead in power play goals a couple seasons ago. So yeah, definitely going with him. Let's see if I can bring that up. Yeah, that's better. Shots on goal counter, shots off goal, shooting percentage. Just let's make those adjustments. Again, this is the first watch along that I'm doing for Tip of the Ice-Burgh and the first watch along in general that I've done in several years. So we're still figuring it out. Thanks for bearing with us on that one. But yeah, give me Rickard Rakell, especially to start the season. That's who they have out there. But this is a guy that, if he's healthy, I mean, that shoulder was a big issue last year, but if he's healthy this year, that shot is lethal. And if he can get it going early and get it going often, it's going to be a big help to the Penguins' power plays. The Rangers get an opportunity here. Filip Chytil beats Tristan Jarry. And I mean, I understand that we got half of a hockey game left, but this one might be all over but the crying. I mean, 4-0 in favor of the New York Rangers. Marcus Pettersson looked like he was going to get beat by Coyle. He pokes the puck away, and it just goes right to Filip Chytil, who beats Tristan Jarry on the blocker side. Let's watch this replay. It looks like it's interesting. Pettersson and Grzelcyk. I don't know what Grzelcyk is doing in that instance. Marcus Pettersson had a beat on him. He did get it to his hip, but Pettersson has that long reach and makes the play. I don't know why Matt Grzelcyk was overcompensating on that one. I don't know what forced him to go after Coyle instead of just making the play for the second guy in, which is Filip Chytil. That is a defensive breakdown. And again, Tristan Jarry, if you could make a save there, it'd be nice to make a save there. I know Maximo says it's time to pull Jarry. At this point, there's no point in pulling Tristan Jarry. You got a game tomorrow against the Detroit Red Wings. Here's an opportunity for the Penguins' first line. Beauvillier looking for Crosby, able to get the pass through, and now it's going to be Rickard Rakell as the Penguins are really just throwing these lines in a blender. I'm not liking what I'm seeing here from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Don't trust your lines at all one game into this. I mean, I know you're down 4-0, but Jesus. Crosby behind the net, all by his lonesome, looking for somebody. He had 2 guys out in front, just not able to get to the puck. A nice play by the Rangers defender there. Matt Grzelcyk fighting on the near boards with number 91 of the Rangers. Crosby able to find over to Rakell. Rakell lugging the puck along. He finds Beauvillier to Crosby, back to Beauvillier. Beauvillier is going to send it around the back of the net. Kris Letang steps up in the zone. He takes the puck. Tries to shrug off a defender, loses possession of the puck. Fortunately for him, Rickard Rakell was able to pick it up. Gets back to Letang, goes over to Beauvillier. His shot is saved by Igor Shesterkin, who has just been Johnny on the spot in this entire game so far. Cleared down the ice for an icing by the New York Rangers, but another really solid opportunity for the Penguins and another really solid save by Igor Shesterkin. Best chance of Anthony Beauvillier's short time with the Pittsburgh Penguins there as the puck scampered through right onto his stick. You had Shesterkin a little off balance, just not able to get it past him, ends up shooting it right into his pads. A nice save by Shesterkin and a nice job by the Rangers to clear the puck. The puck is dropped now. Third line getting an opportunity at an offensive zone start. Lars Eller takes the puck. He runs into Rutger McGroarty. A little bit of a communication issue there. Jack St. Ivany steps up on the streaking New York Rangers forward, and they end up having to dump the puck in deep behind Tristan Jarry. Ryan Graves starts the breakout for the Penguins. It gets to center ice, and it's dumped in. Turned over. The Rangers take the puck as they try to turn this around. Jack St. Ivany, a nice defensive stick there, sends them back into their own zone. Rangers trying to get the breakout going. They get into the offensive zone. Goes back to a defender. Defender gets the shot on net. Save made by Tristan Jarry. Something I haven't said a lot tonight. Rangers maintain possession. They're trying to set something up. Good opportunity for Artemi Panarin in the front of the net. That one is redirected by Tristan Jarry. Panarin takes it. Goes up top. Braden Schneider back to Panarin. Panarin's shot. His shot is saved by Tristan Jarry. And the Rangers, I keep almost saying the Red Wings, that's tomorrow. The Rangers are pushing hard here, trying to make it 5-0. Certainly not resting on their laurels with a 4-0 lead with 8 minutes to go in the second period of play. Pens, I mean, they had a little bit of life there for a couple of minutes, and now it's just the Rangers' first line is taking advantage of the Penguins' third line and the Penguins' third pair. That's a mismatch that you don't get too often on home ice, but it is one that the Rangers certainly took advantage of there. Again, Grzelcyk and Pettersson out there for a shift together. You don't like Grzelcyk overcompensating on that shift there, on that break there. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a very important piece to this team. You look at the Penguins defense this year. Matt Grzelcyk, they took a chance on. Ryan Graves again. I can say they took a chance on him. They couldn't really get rid of him, but they were hoping for a bounce back from him. You need one of those two guys to pan out because you can't go this whole season and expect to be a team that fights for a playoff spot with only Marcus Pettersson on the left side of your defense. So 4-0 is the score in favor of the New York Rangers. Certainly not how the Penguins had drawn it up for the opener of this one. Still plenty of time to get back in this game. It's going to take a near Herculean effort from what it looks like based on the way Igor Shesterkin has been playing. But the Penguins, they look good at portions of that first period. I think at this point, what you're looking for out of them, considering it is game 1 of 82, this game does not knock them out of the playoffs. This game does not end their season. But it's obviously game 1 of 82. You got an opportunity tomorrow to potentially wipe the slate clean. But what you need from now, my arm just spasmed. What you need for now, win the rest of the hockey game. That's what I want from the Pittsburgh Penguins. I want them to, from this point on, it's 4-0. At the end of this game, they need to, from this point on, win this hockey game. Get a couple of goals past Igor Shesterkin, play a little bit better defense, and for God's sakes, Tristan Jarry makes some more saves. Let's go to Pittsburgh Hornets, who asked this question a while ago. It was 3-0 when he asked. It is now 4-0 in favor of the Rangers. Do you think the Penguins walk out of October at 500 or higher? They haven't the past couple of seasons. So if they play the way they've played tonight, I don't know. That's difficult because I thought they played well in the first period. But some of the mistakes that they've made, some of the odd man rushes that they've given up, if they do that against the slate that they have, they won't be 500 by the time November 1st comes around. So I'm hoping they are. I think that if we see them play the way they've played the majority of this game, they should be able to win some hockey games, but certainly not the way, giving up those odd man rushes, cheating on rushes from the other team, leaving your assignment, missing your assignment, giving up weak goals. If you start doing that stuff, there's not a chance that they're going to be able to get out of October with a winning record, especially with how busy their October is going to be. Let's go to Adrian wants to know, how has Mika Zibanejad played tonight? To be completely honest with you, fine, I guess. He really hasn't been noticeable, but I feel like there's some times where Mika Zibanejad just isn't noticeable. I say that, and now he's probably going to go out there and score a goal. But the best line for the Rangers has been this Hedl line. Hedl, Coyle, and I don't even know who the third guy is with them right now because it's just been Hedl and Coyle that have been creating these opportunities. They scored that fourth goal for the Rangers. Hedl had one of the goals in the first period, and Coyle had that disallowed goal. So that line has been the most evident for the Rangers all night long. Zibanejad, I mean, when you're up 4-0, do you really need to be extraordinary at all? So that's going to be, good for him. The Penguins, though, I guess they've been playing him well. They just need to play that heel line better because it's given them fits so far. Puck is dropped. We got just under 7 minutes to play here in the second period. Penguins down 4-0 again. Just win the game from here on out. I don't know if you're going to win the game. You're not going to get standings points. But from the 6:45 mark of the second period on, as we see Crosby and Malkin out there again, Mike Sullivan reaching deep into his bag of trips on night 1 of the season is not what you wanted to see. Wasn't on my bingo card for certain. I didn't think that he'd go to the well this early with the Crosby and Malkin duo, but he has, and they're trying to find something. We'll see what they're able to do. Grzelcyk sends it over to Letang. That forecheck of the Rangers still hounding the Penguins. It's game 1 of the season. They got plenty of legs to go, so they're going to be on them. Pass over from Ryan Graves, if I'm not mistaken, is whiffed on, and he takes it back into his own zone. Letang is hounded on. He turns the puck over, and in come the New York Rangers once again. The Penguins trying to get something going here. Bad decision there by Kris Letang. Doesn't hurt the Pittsburgh Penguins as Lars Eller makes up for it, gets the puck, and in they come into the offensive zone. Penguins third line, Rutger McGroarty sends a shot on goal, and it is saved by Igor Shesterkin. This is not going well here. Let's see what else we got. Any other questions? We got 2 more. TJ Copro says, do I think the Penguins will make the playoffs this year or not? I have the Penguins as a bubble playoff team. I don't have them in the top 3 in the Metro. And I have the Rangers, the Devils, and the Hurricanes as the top 3 in the Metro. I put the Penguins in that next grouping in the Metropolitan Division, but it is going to be hard for them to fight for a wild card spot this year, simply because you look at what the Atlantic's done over this past offseason. Buffalo's expecting to be better this year. Ottawa's expecting to be better this year. Detroit was right around that, flirting with a playoff spot last year. And then you look at teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs are always up there. The top 3 of Boston, Florida, and I'm missing one other one. Tampa Bay. They're always going to be tough. So the Eastern Conference is going to be a tough nut to crack this year. I give the Penguins a fighting chance. If you had to ask me yes or no prediction, put my money on it right now, I'd say no. I would say that they are not one of the top 8 teams in the year, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference to start. But do I think they're one of the top 10? Yes. Do I think that they could get bounces? They could get the season to go their way and sneak into the playoffs? Yeah, I do believe that. Let's go and see if there's any other questions here. We got Gabriel joining us from Venezuela. Thanks for joining on. Appreciate you jumping on, and appreciate everybody jumping on here to the Tip of the Ice-Burgh Watchalong, the first Watchalong that we are doing this year. I'm not going to commit to doing it a certain amount of times. We'll have to wait and see how the schedule pans out, but hoping to do this a handful of times this season. I've really enjoyed it so far tonight. Enjoyed talking to Hunter Hodies in the first intermission break, and will enjoy talking to Jeff Taylor of the Penguins Fly Game Day podcast in the second intermission. Mickey says, on to Detroit tomorrow night. Mentally, I wouldn't blame you. Mentally, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, but of course, we still have plenty of hockey left to play tonight. They're going to have to turn things around here. Is a nice opportunity for, nice shot on goal by Erik Karlsson. I got to stop reacting like I'm just watching it. I got to start telling what we're saying, what we're seeing here. Nice shot on goal, nice opportunity for Erik Karlsson that was turned away. And then Anthony Beauvillier, if he could have got his stick free, he had a goal there. Instead, he was tied up by Jacob Trouba. Penguins head to the power play for the second time in this second period. Crosby won the faceoff, and it got back to Karlsson, a huge pump fake that really fooled the Rangers defenseman, fooled the cameraman as well. And then Jacob Trouba just can opens Anthony Beauvillier, the captain of the Blue Shirts, in the box. And the Penguins, with 5:41 left in the second, this is do or die time. Not like it already hasn't been, but if you don't score in this power play, it's going to be pretty much nail in the coffin here. So the Penguins, second power play of the season, second power play of the period. D-to-D pass does not go well as Letang tries to find Erik Karlsson. Mika Zibanejad breaks that up and sends the Penguins in the wrong direction. Evgeni Malkin takes it behind the net, sends it over to Erik Karlsson. Karlsson drop pass back to Malkin. Malkin is going to skate up with the puck. Don't drop it back. He gets into the zone, goes over to Rickard Rakell, who finds Crosby with some space. He shoots the puck, and that is redirected behind the net. Penguins regain possession. Sidney Crosby over to Rakell. Rakell the shot. Blocker save made there by Shesterkin. That one gave him a rise. That pass over by Erik Karlsson is turned over, and here come the Rangers. 3-on-2 opportunity for the Rangers, shorthanded. Comes in. Nice save made by Tristan Jarry, and he hands the puck over to the Rangers. This is more of what we saw last season from the Penguins power play. Certainly not what you want to see right now. It looks like potentially a 2-on-1. Evgeni Malkin takes it into the zone. He sends it over to, looks like, Rickard Rakell once again. Rakell, puck knocked off his stick. Crosby able to reel it in. Crosby sends it down. Fighting for it on the boards. The puck is wheeled around. It looks like Michael Bunting as the Penguins start to change to the power play 2 unit. Matt Grzelcyk out there as well. The puck right now over to Matt Grzelcyk. He takes a slap shot. It was a slap pass. The puck in on the net. And looks like they've stopped play. Maybe not. They have not. There was a lot of players, a lot of traffic in front of the net. Referees decide to keep play going, and the Penguins recapture the puck behind their net. First power play unit again, a couple of opportunities, not able to finish it off, but they gave up one big opportunity as well. So not a great start for power play 1. We'll see if power play 2 can get anything going with 15 seconds remaining on the man advantage. Somebody blew a flat tire in the middle of the offensive zone, and here come the New York Rangers again, shorthanded, 3-on-3, evened up there. Looks like they're going to be content to just wait out this clock, and they do. Jacob Trouba back out onto the ice. Penguins don't capitalize on their second power play opportunity of the evening and is just getting further and further away from the grasp of the Pittsburgh Penguins here on opening night. 3:30 remaining in the second period of play. 4-0 is the score in favor of the New York Rangers, outshooting the Penguins 27-18 right now. The Pens are 0 for 2, only 2 shots on goal for the Pens. Feels like they've created a couple more chances, but only 2 shots have been registered on Igor Shesterkin on the man advantage. They send the puck around. Looks like they're about to go for a change. I was going to say, looks like a different type of line going out right now, but they changed on the ice. Jack St. Ivany takes the puck and he tries to send it in to Igor Shesterkin. Coming out the other way is Artemi Panarin. Panarin takes it into the zone. Cody Glass is back in the defensive zone. He's just going to send it down the ice for an icing. 2:53 remaining in the second period of play. Pens down 4-0. Do we have any more questions? Let's see. Zach Attack says, do you bench Jarry in the future if he keeps letting in the goals? Yeah, eventually you're going to have to. I mean, it happened last year. Once Nedeljkovic comes back, it's more likely. I have a hard time believing that they're going to make Joel Blomqvist the starter in the clubhouse. That one's going to be a little bit different. That's going to be a little bit difficult to see that happening. So they're kind of relying on Tristan Jarry to play much better than he's played tonight. That's for certain. So down 4-0, goaltending, a big story in this game. We came in, one of the big stories that we said was, Evgeni Malkin is 2 goals away or 2 assists away from a milestone. I'll take a goal by anybody right now for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It looks like Igor is impenetrable so far in this one. 18 shots on goal for the Pens. Handful of prime opportunities, but just a bobble of the puck here, missed placement there on the shot, and Igor's been able to be on his angles. So definitely been a night to remember for Igor Shesterkin in a place that historically he hasn't played all too great. G Tots wants to ask, do we send Jarry down to the AHL for some good juju when Alex is back? No. No, they're not going to send Tristan Jarry to the AHL. They're not going to send Alex Nedeljkovic to the AHL. When Alex Nedeljkovic is back from injury, it's going to be Joel Blomqvist that goes back to the American Hockey League, and he will stay there until one of the 2 ahead of them either get injured, which we're not hoping for, or they get traded, which we'll have to wait and see how the season plays out. But as of right now, there's no chance Tristan Jarry goes down to the American Hockey League. Mickey Obed wants to know, how is Anthony Beauvillier looking? I mean, so far he's looking all right. Drew a penalty. That's what you want to see. He's had a couple opportunities like this one right here. Oh, Drew O'Connor sends it across. Tries to find Evgeni Malkin, and Malkin just cannot put the biscuit in the basket. Another opportunity here for Evgeni Malkin down low in the zone. He's trying to find somebody. He goes over to Letang, who takes it at the top of the zone, shoots it into a crowded net front. It doesn't get to the net as it goes out of the zone and potentially a breakaway here. It looks like it's Kaapo Kakko potentially on the breakaway. Save made by Tristan Jarry, and it was Kakko. Philip Hedl getting into a heated exchange with Marcus Pettersson as the Penguins trying to have a little bit of bite with Hedl getting invested in the net front area. A nice save by Tristan Jarry on Kaapo Kakko, and now all hell is breaking loose in front of the net. It looks like Kakko is really going after Pettersson, and Chris Letang is not liking that for his longtime defense partner, trying to pull Kakko off. It's getting chippy here, and that's what you can expect whenever you have a blowout game, especially on opening night. Tensions are high, emotions are high, and yet the scoreboard is high in only one favor, and that is the New York Rangers. How did this happen? Looks like a Penguins player tried to chip the puck into open space, and it just bounced right to Kaapo Kakko. He goes forehand, backhand. Nice glove save made by Tristan Jarry. A little bit of redemption for Jarry, not enough to fully redeem him. But Mickey, to answer your question here, and make sure you guys get your questions in For Jeff Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly Game Day podcast, he will be joining us at the conclusion of this second period of play. Beauvillier, he's looked all right. I'm not going to say he's really been a standout in a positive or a negative way. We're going to get a couple penalties here. We'll see. Probably, I would imagine it has to go 4-on-4 here. Marcus Pettersson is in the box. Anybody from the Rangers? Or are we just going to call that on one player? No. Filipino also in the box. We'll see what they determine, whether or not we're playing 4-on-4 or just stick it at 5-on-5. But both Marcus Pettersson and Filipino make their way to the sin bin here. But Beauvillier, again, he drew a penalty. He hasn't looked bad. He hasn't looked outstanding either. Kind of, I hate to make the comparison, kind of like a Dominic Simone. He's there. He doesn't make a poor play when he's on the ice with Crosby, but he also doesn't make an outstanding play. So that's my quick early read from just seeing it live on Anthony Beauvillier. Jose wants to know, Penguins, are they going to score plus 1.5? Is it possible? I mean, 1.5 would mean they need to score what? 3 goals in this one? If you're a betting man, they're going 4-on-4 here. We'll see. If they're able to get one late, they need to get one late, to be completely honest. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat Igor Shesterkin. He has been very solid in this one. We got a stoppage of play. Looks like Crosby's going to the sin bin. It's going to be a 4-on-3. Bad turns to worse for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Crosby not happy with the call, but at the end of the day, man, this has just been a nightmare scenario for the Pittsburgh Penguins to open up this season. Let's see what he did here. He's covering, shoves Zibanejad, and that is another weak call. Another one. That's the second time this period that has been a pretty weak call on the stripes, on the black and gold. I mean, you can call, I guess, a cross-checking there, but that one was a little light. You can tell that the referees now are just trying to get a control of this thing, make sure it doesn't go crazy after that net front scuffle between Hedl and Marcus Pettersson. So they call the penalty on Crosby, and now the Penguins desperately, you cannot give up that 5th goal. If you give up the 5th goal, I mean, it's not like this one wasn't already almost over with a 4-0 deficit against Igor Shesterkin looking the way he has. There's an opportunity there. Shot save made by Tristan Jarry with 50 seconds remaining. Penguins need to hold on here. You can't give up another goal in the last minute of the period. I almost want to look down at the scoreboard that I know is 8 seconds ahead in front of me instead of watching this game feed. Opportunity in front. That one skips wide again. Penguins trying to stay in that formation. You have Noel Acciari. Good opportunity. Great save by Tristan Jarry. That is back-to-back stellar saves by Tristan Jarry, trying to dig himself out of the Penguins fan base's doghouse here in the waning moments of the second period of play. A nice glove save on Chris Kreider, preventing it from being a 5-0 score going into the third period. A nice pass across the ice from Adam Fox to Kreider. Same thing we saw in the first period with Jesse Puljujärvi, almost on the same side of the ice there. He dusts the puck off. If you just shoot that one time, he probably beats Tristan Jarry, but he has to dust the puck off. He has to settle it down before he gets it on net, and that gives Jarry the opportunity to get across the crease and make the glove save. Now, Rangers back on the attack. Artemi Panarin steps in, block shot by, I would imagine that's Noel Acciari. No, it's Cody Glass who's killing penalties this year. So a block shot by Cody Glass. He certainly looks like he's feeling all of that. 11 seconds remaining in the period. Can the Penguins hold on? That one is Chris Kreider up to Panarin. His shot blocked by Drew O'Connor. 2 seconds and 1. They don't get another opportunity on. The Penguins narrowly escape. They'll have 42 seconds remaining on the man disadvantage to start the third period and a 4-0 deficit. If you go period to period, they didn't lose 3-0. They only lost 1-0 in that period, but certainly a deep hole to climb out of for the Pittsburgh Penguins as they tried to get back into this one on opening night at PPG Paints Arena. So do I think it's possible that they pull this to within 2 goals? It would have to be within 1 goal for you to get that plus 1.5, Jose. I wouldn't take the bet. Let's just put it that way. We got a couple more questions for a very special guest that is going to be joining us here momentarily. He is the host of the Fly Penguins Fly Game Day podcast. We welcome onto the show Mr. Jeff Taylor. How's it going, Jeff? I believe you're muted, my friend. Yep, 1 second. So Let me know in the comments. Put in your questions for Jeff Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly podcast. We'll talk a little bit about what we've seen tonight, which, listen, there's plenty to discuss about tonight. We'll talk about what we're expecting of the Pittsburgh Penguins going forward. And I can hear him now. Jeff Taylor, Fly Penguins Fly Game Day podcast. He wears his sunglasses at night. How's it going, my friend?
Well, Nick Belsky of Tip of the Ice-Burgh and Inside the Penguins, I got to just say I'm grateful for you because I got to find something to be grateful for right now. Down 0-4 to the Rags, the white shirts of Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing me all right, by the way, over there?
Yeah, now you're coming in crystal clear.
Great. And hello to all the listeners and the viewers and folks out there checking in. Yeah, it's a rough situation being down quad goals, but you know what? The Rangers are one of the best teams in the NHL. They're basically due for a run to the Stanley Cup final. It's crazy they haven't gotten there in the last few seasons, and it's amazing that the Penguins were as close to making the playoffs last year as they were, as heartbreaking as it is for us Pens fans. I do have to take a quick break to say the Mets are going to the National League Championship Series. Very excited about that. And also to say that I'm about to crack an Oktoberfest from Penn Brewing, because when the Penguins are down 4-0, what you do is have an Oktoberfest.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I'm only on the water because I got to preserve the voice going for 3 hours tonight. Well, maybe 3 hours. It might not. It's actually been a pretty quick game. Hour and 45. Slancha. Enjoy that. So, Jeff, I wanted to bring you on because, you know, you're one of the opinions I respect the most out there on Penguins land. And I wanted to know your thoughts on some of the offseason moves that Kyle Dubas made. We've seen a slew of players make their Penguins debut tonight. Matt Grzelcyk, Anthony Beauvillier, Rutger McGroarty, Penguins and NHL debut. Just what did you think of Kyle Dubas's second offseason? Very active, very busy, kind of changing the face of this team for the second consecutive summer.
Well, kind of going from the end to the front, the Rutger McGroarty move I thought was really cool because as much as we were all excited about the 14th overall pick of the, 2023 draft, right, for the Pittsburgh Penguins in Braden Yeager, right now is the time. And I'm sure this has been beaten to death, but if the Pens are going to make a run to the playoffs, we need somebody who can slot in now. And clearly McGroarty, I think McGroarty has looked quite comfortable in the preseason. And as far as tonight, I mean, you're going up against an extremely formidable opponent in the New York Rangers. They are on their game. Igor Shesterkin's on his game. And as much as I thought the Pens did get into danger areas, you know, in the first period and came out looking pretty good, the Rangers were equal to the task. And not only that, but they've had scoring across the board to boot. So I'm happy with the McGroarty move. I think the content that came out, I'm sure you already talked about this earlier in your broadcast, but the content that came out over the course of the day for, Rutger getting the call up and the meeting with Mike Sullivan and calling his mom is just feel good stuff. I have no expectations of him now tonight per se, other than to look to knock on wood, stay healthy and try to hang with the big boys. But as an 18-year-old, or is he 19 now? Excuse me. He's
20.
Oh, geez. And I even sat with Jordan last night pre-Stevie Wonder concert, and we were looking up that very list of the youngest players Sid has ever played with, and clearly I didn't pay very much attention at the bar at Super Bowl. But other moves, Beauvillier, again, he's a guy synonymous with getting beaten at the hands of the New York Islanders. And so for me, when he comes in, I just think any former enemy of the Penguins, like a Kevin Hayes of the formerly the Philadelphia Flyers, it's nice to have some of these vets who have been part of solving the Penguins in the past. Obviously, Hayes, a very good friend, just happens to himself wear number 13 this year. I don't know. That is a coincidence, right? Has that always been his jersey number?
No, he's worn 13 in the past.
Yeah. So very good friend of Johnny Gaudreau and deep connection there. So just some of these names that we've seen. Also, the Jesse Puljujarvi story, I know that he's not a brand new addition, but we're seeing Jesse Puljujarvi at full health for the first time as we head into this campaign. So I think there's a lot of the Cody Glass situation again for the bottom six. It seems like if he can be dependable as a centerman, that is what all we need. We need scoring, but I'm looking more to my wingers for that. I'm looking more for a little bit of grit and a little bit of just good, puck protection from Cody Glass. And it's night one. You're down a bunch of goals to a great team, not just a good team. I mean, well, the NHL is funny these days. A great team. Look at the Florida Panthers. I mean, the way they made their way to the Stanley Cup final 2 seasons ago, it would have been a little strange to say they're a great team. They just sort of gritted it out in those playoffs as far as last season and going the distance and taking home the hardware. Well, it's interesting. The Penguins, even when they won the Stanley Cup in 2016, that 2017 team was almost the team I remember because they were galvanized. They had made it there. And then that next season was really when they locked in to another level of things, and that triple overtime that came to the cathartic conclusion with Chris Kunitz and the knuckle puck over Craig Anderson. It's like that's a great team. 2016 was just sort of a beautiful come back from the basement situation. I'll just stop rambling.
No, you're good.
It's a weird night.
Listen, I have been talking for an hour, 50 minutes, and 40 some seconds. So I am perfectly fine if you ramble a little bit. But the one thing that I've talked about the most over the past 2 hours almost, Penguins goaltending was a question mark coming into the season. Hasn't looked like a good start of the year for Tristan Jarry tonight. A couple of weak goals. I don't quite blame the third goal on him. 11 seconds left. You got to be able to put a head on a hat. And
the first one, the deflection, I mean, any goaltender is going to let that in. I mean, I don't exactly love the fact that 3 Penguins were digging the puck out of the corner for a while right before that. And it's not great positioning, but was it Carrick? I mean,
yes.
What are you going to do? I barely even expect Jacob Trouba to be able to hit the net from where he is, let alone set Carrick up, quote unquote, for a deflection. I think he's such a plug 8, and he seems like a good person, which is a bummer because I really want to hate Jacob Trouba, but I don't hate him as a person. I just don't like him as a player.
Yeah. Now, again, I want to know, how concerned were you about the Penguins, or what were your views? You might not have been concerned. I don't want to lead the witness here, but what were your views of the Penguins goaltending situation coming into the night? And what have you thought about Tristan Jarry's performance so far through 2 periods of play?
I think right now the Penguins don't currently have a great goaltender on staff. They just don't. I think we have a very good goaltender in Nedeljkovic, but he's injured. I think he had a good shot at starting tonight's game if he had been healthy. I'm not here to say I think that was Mike Sullivan's decision, and there may be press out there to the contrary, saying that indeed we're going with Jarry if he's healthy. That's not the feel that I had, though. My feel was if Ned had been healthy, he was probably going to start tonight. He's who took you down the stretch, looked great. They re-signed him. He looked pretty good in the brief sampling size that we got in the preseason of Ned. And then, Tristan Jarry, come on. Yeah, multiple time All-Star, but we're well past the eye test not looking great with him. I like him as a person. I read Rob Rossi's recent piece that was like the full-on sit-down and all of the quotes from Marcus Pettersson and Sidney Crosby and Mike Sullivan about what a guy he is. Oh, just 1 second, Nick. My wife's calling from New York. She'll come on the air with us for a second.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Ask her about Tristan Jarry.
Ashley, you are live on Tip of the Ice-Burgh during the intermission. You want to just say hello to the listeners for a second?
Wait, what?
You are live on Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast during the Penguins intermission, where they're down four. Oh, no cussing. You're live. And it's Ashley Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly Camp. Ashley, you're in New York City right now. The Rangers are here in Pittsburgh. And what Nick Belsky of Tip of the Ice-Burgh and I would like to know is, down 4-0 here at PPG Paints Arena, What do you think with Tristan Jarry having given up Quattro tallies? Are the Penguins' chances of coming back against Igor Shesterkin and the Rangers?
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Okay,
Jarry needs to go. Jarry needs to go. And that's all.
Okay, I'm going to call you back. I love you.
Okay, I love you too.
Bye. Well, there you have it, folks.
An honest assessment. I like it.
My wife has a sailor's mouth, and she said that Jarry needs to go. I'm not here to say Jarry needs to go. I'm just here to say the goaltending, come on. I mean, we're short a piece right now. That's how I look at it. And there's a gamble here. We also have 81.33 games left to play, and I'm not here to throw Tristan Jarry to the Wolves either. I like him, and I'm wishing him the best.
Now, a lot of people have asked in this comment section, Maximo Rodriguez being one of them. Do you think the Penguins are going to bounce back tomorrow against Detroit? Pittsburgh Hornets says, what do you think they should do to adjust for tomorrow? That's the beauty of starting with a back-to-back. I know it's not the funnest thing for, the team, but you can wash this game away and kind of get the bad taste out of your mouth right away. Get back onto the ice right away, clean slate, go out there in game 2. So I'll ask you, a la what we see with Pittsburgh Hornets here.
Yeah.
What do you think they should do to adjust for tomorrow night's game?
And the name of the person who asked the question again, Pittsburgh Hornets?
Pittsburgh Hornets.
Hello, Pittsburgh Hornets. Your profile picture looks really cool. It looks like you're atop a summit of some kind, and which is exactly where I wish I were right now, out in a national park, maybe camping with a little fire and a sub-zero rated sleeping bag. But, oh shoot, the question again? I'm sorry.
What should the Penguins do to adjust for tomorrow night's game?
Goldfish mentality. Ted Lasso. You forget about it. Just like you hinted at, Pittsburgh Hornets. And by the way, great name there. I really like that. It's not quite Pittsburgh Yellow Jackets in the ancient hockey sense, but we love the Pittsburgh Hornets branding there. So yeah, you got to just forget. You got to move on. My limited experience playing ice hockey and rec league and stuff, from one night to the next, even in that scenario. And I was the worst player on the team. I put the whole thing together. So I had a bunch of good players around me. And you just watch these guys who are so good have nights that don't seem typical for their skill levels. And then the next night, the one guy dumps in 3 goals, you assist on a goal, and you just move on. And somebody said this when I was watching. I know this is a little bit of a non sequitur, but the Mets just won a game, right? The color commentator on the Fox Sports broadcast of the final game of the Mets series, said, what's interesting? Edwin Diaz is up here. He needs to get 3 outs as a closer for the Mets. He walks the first 2 Phillies batters, essentially setting up a 1-swing tied game for Philadelphia with no outs. But the guy said, you know what? Don't be so sure that Edwin Diaz is as shaken as you might think he is, having walked the first 2 batters. When you're playing in these games, you're not like a fan who's so stressed out and worried. Okay, Penguins are down a bunch of goals. You know what? They're just when they say in those post-game interviews, Sidney, Crosby, we're just going to start thinking about tomorrow's game. I think we did a lot of things right. A lot of guys were in the right places. It just didn't go for us. They got a great goaltender, and we're just going to get ready for the Red Wings. They mean it. Like, these are professionals. And I really believe that tomorrow night is going to be a different story. I think we're going to see Tristan Jarry again. I think he's going to look a little better from the fans' perspective, meaning I doubt, knock on wood, we're going to go down 4-0 by the start of this 3rd period. It's just, we have an incredibly talented roster. You got a lot of guys who are a little bit older, might need a few games to get the wheels warmed up. And I think you should expect a better showing from the eye test. As far as how the Penguins have actually played in the last 40 minutes, I'm not all that mad at it, everybody. Like, I think the Penguins look pretty good, especially in the first period. They got a lot of shots on net, and a lot of them look pretty quality to me. I just wouldn't sweat it too much. Game 1.
Speaking of game 1, one of the things that I talked about with Hunter Hodies in the first intermission was, we hadn't gotten to see that new power play in the regular season. Well, we got a couple opportunities in that second period. Alex Rowan says, why do I feel like it's the same as last year? It instantly regressed from how it looked in the preseason. Any insight to this? You mentioned it there. Some guys need to knock the rust off. Power play looked really good in the preseason. It looked good in the preseason. I won't go as far as to say it looked really good. It looked different. It looked good.
Yeah.
You're adding a very, very big interval when you throw in Erik Karlsson into the mix.
Oh, yeah. An Erik Karlsson who hasn't played in, one preseason game?
He didn't play a single preseason game.
So,
he didn't practice with the team until late last week. So
yeah,
I think that goes into what you're seeing, Alex, is they haven't practiced this new power play because it is a new scheme. It is a new power play. They haven't practiced it with the 2 defense look, with Erik Karlsson running from the point and Kris Letang being a floater on those left and right half walls. So I think that's why you're kind of seeing a little bit of it. You know, it's disjointed, a little bit of miscommunications, kind of not knowing where to go with the puck.
Yeah.
It's still new. It's going to take some time. It's one of the pitfalls of having Erik Karlsson miss the entire preseason.
Yeah.
But it's something they're going to have to figure out here.
Not to mention, you're doing it not against the flesh-colored rubber dummies with Penguins jerseys on them that they keep on the side at the FedEx sheet of ice up in Cranberry at the practice facility. You're doing it against, the New York Rangers elite defensive lineup and one of the hardest to beat goaltenders in the highest skill league for ice hockey, although one of the worst run leagues for ice hockey on earth. You mentioned knocking the rust off. He's not on the power play, but Brian Rust is not on the bench. It means Brian Rust is not quite as much of a presence in the locker room. This Penguins team is missing a key personality who is typically a penalty killer. Wait, now remind me. I'm actually going to go super dopey right now and ask you to remind me, because I have had my head up my music hole recently and also been just put out my first episode of Fly Penguins Fly. Unfortunately, Sans Jordan DeFigio, my co-host, because she's at the game and was busy today, and features an interview with Pittsburgh native Christian Humphreys. Just got drafted by the Colorado Avalanche. Great conversation with him. Everybody check that out, please. But question for you, Nick Belsky, the more knowledgeable fan, actually, in this moment anyway. I will soon catch back up to you when I pull my head out of my music hole. But Brian Rust, typically on either one of the Penguins' current power play units in when everybody's at good health? Yes or no?
I mean, this year, yes, could be. I think this year, the question was asked. Penguins are going with 2 defensemen. That is signed, sealed, delivered, stamp of approval by Mike Sullivan. He said, this is something we want to see.
Yeah.
I put Rickard Rakell on that top unit, even if Brian Rust is healthy.
Right.
But if it's not Rakell, it's Rust. So Rust will be on the second unit regardless.
So yeah, that's another change. Look, at EK65 is EK65. And at his absolute worst, he's one of the highest skill skaters, puck handlers, most chill human beings in stressful situations on the ice, even against the best opposition. So look, in the preseason, we saw, as Jesse Marshall noted, and I therefore took note of myself, because I follow Jesse Marshall's hockey sense in a lot of ways, like I do yours. The high umbrella was a little too present for me again in the preseason. Full disclosure, I had switched over to the Mets game to watch them clinch going to the NLCS. I may have missed, and I was listening to the radio, and Joe Brand's doing a great job, and so I may have heard certain things as I ran down to Banksville Beer on Banksville Road here in the Pittsburgh area. But look, all I'm going off of right now visually, because I was listening to the radio for a good amount of tonight's broadcast, I'm going off of what I've seen in the preseason and the different options they've run. A little too much of that high umbrella, a little too close to the blue line. I want to see a little more aggression from the Penguins. You get that puck down low. I have seen a little more of what Mike Sullivan calls a speed game. And I thought it was very interesting the way he talked about it in a quote from just the last day or so. We need guys who can play fast, right? And it's not just about 19, 20, 23-year-old players and their fast, strong, young legs. It's about thinking the game fast. Josh Yohe's piece about Evgeni Malkin of just this morning. Gino's admitting my wheels are a little lesser than they were, and I'm going to need, and by the way, I realize the game is coming back. I think my TV feed might be a little bit, okay, a couple guys in the box here, MP28, and Sidney Patrick Crosby in the box. Okay. Let me turn it over to you for a second, as play has continued and my PXP abilities are lesser, although I will stay with you as long as you want me to.
Yeah, of course. The Penguins obviously kill off the remainder of that penalty kill. Sidney Crosby and Marcus Pettersson out of the box, about 18:23 remaining in this one. So the Penguins got to get going fast if they want to get back into this game. we've seen a couple of times, and this is where I'll bring you right back in. We'll keep you on for a little bit longer because I've enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise.
We've seen a couple of times in this game already, and we don't see it often under Mike Sullivan. He's been going to Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin at 5-on-5 on the same line a lot. Does it concern you at all that that's already a part of the plan, or are you happy if they end up utilizing that a little bit more often this season?
Oh, I mean, anytime I get to see the two-headed monster, I'm ecstatic. I just think at this point in Penguins history, and I say this occasionally in my little intros that I write for the podcasts or anytime I'm tweeting, folks, you know, this is the red giant moment for Sidney Crosby, for Evgeni Malkin. Their careers are winding down. If they're out there on the same line together, I'm just a kid in a candy store. As far as the long-term plan, look, shuffling lines is shuffling lines. Just because those two happen to be Hall of Famers with 3 Stanley Cups together, and just because we think of Evgeni Malkin as a center, I'm just perfectly happy to see him fill in whatever role likely Hall of Fame coach Mike Sullivan thinks that he needs to fill.
Looking right now, they had him on there for one shift, and now they've kind of switched back. I think I see Bunting, Beauvillier. I might be wrong here. No, there's Puljujärvi. So they're switching the lines up all over the place. This is the traditional second line out there, which I thought has looked pretty good so far. But the Penguins, just about 3.5 minutes into this period, puck's been going back and forth. Nobody's really established control of this third period so far. A couple of good opportunities for the Rangers on that early power play. And fortunately for the Penguins, their penalty kill has been up to the challenge so far tonight, because the Rangers are a team that makes a lot of their hay on the power play. Not tonight, of course. A lot of 5-on-5 goal scoring for them. But, you know, good to see the Penguins at least have their penalty kill to rely on for a second consecutive season.
Yeah, and you mentioned the second line. This is more like a New Orleans second line funeral. You know, I mean, the slow march, you're down 4 goals. You're going to take the next 16 odd minutes, at least where my feed, my TNT feed is currently. They're about 16:20. How far ahead of me are you?
Only about like 20 seconds. And I know we're 8 seconds behind on our feed here.
Sure.
On our scoreboard here. So
you take the next 15 plus minutes just to try things out, try not to give up anything else. You know, make some changes in real time. And you're essentially, this is an opportunity to get ready for the Detroit game at this point. What can you do right? What are the takeaways that you can do? What kind of little, barely visible to the fans' eye accomplishments can you make as a squad so that you can take Mike Vellucci and David Quinn, you know, back into the coach's office and recap and figure out what you want to talk to the guys about tomorrow morning? Because that's really where you're at right now. Back-to-backs and all that. Yeah,
especially, I mean, there's certain guys, I mean, Cody Glass being probably chief among them. Somebody's fighting for a spot here. I mean, Valtteri Puustinen is not a bona fide 13. He's not a guy that you're just going to keep up like Chad Ruhwedel. He's a guy that you're going to give opportunities to. You're not going to let him rot in the press box. And then, of course, as we already mentioned, you mentioned, I should say, Brian Rust is waiting in the wings. He's practicing.
Oh, yeah.
Non-contact, but he will be in the second he's healthy. Some of these guys are fighting for a lineup spot right now. They need to put together some, you know, next shift mentality, next shift, next period, and then hopefully you build out to have a pretty good game here. But
yeah,
you know, 14 minutes left. I said it at the end of last period, and since then it's been 0-0. So they're not failing me in this aspect. I said it's 4-0. There was 6 minutes left, I believe, when I mentioned this in the second period. I said win the game from here on out. I understand you're down 4-0. You're probably not going to win the actual game. You're not going to get the 2 points in the standing.
Win what's left.
But win what's remaining of the game.
That's
that's what I want to see from the Pens. As of right now, it's 0-0. We got a stoppage in play here. Looks like it might have been either an offside or an icing. But the Penguins, third period has been back and forth. Kind of a lot of neutral zone hockey, which is kind of different considering a lot of this game has been either the Penguins are dominating the pace of play or the Rangers are dominating the pace of play. So a little bit helter-skelter to start the third period of play here. Jeff, I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, your Mets are moving on, so I know you want to go celebrate, have a couple brewskis.
I can barely believe it. You know, it might have been, I walked into Banksville Beer. I don't go there very much anymore. I'm not a big drinker these days, but I go in to get a case of beer.
Sorry to cut you off. We got a 2-on-1 coming for the New York Rangers. Comes in, shoots the puck, and a nice save made by Tristan. Jarry, puck going the other way. Penguins trying to get something going. Sorry, continue.
No, it's just that there randomly happened to be a Mets beer koozie at the Pittsburgh beer store where I was at, and I got home just in time to watch that baseball game wrap up. The Penguins, I hope they can, chip away at this lead, if not overcome it, certainly in the next 10 plus minutes. But my faith is not shaken. My faith in these Penguins is not shaken. A tough defeat at the hands of the Rangers if things continue the way they are. It's great to be with you, Nick. And I hope and I know that we will do it a couple more times, if not on your podcast or mine.
Yep. Before you go, just let everybody know what's going on with the Fly Penguins Fly Game Day podcast. You mentioned it was back today with a fun interview. What else do you have in store for the listeners?
Well, we've got an episode coming up real soon with Paul Steigerwald telling some stories about his early career as a guy calling games for one of the junior teams of the Detroit Red Wings when he was a younger man, how he got his job with the Pittsburgh Penguins over 43 years ago, 30. Oh, geez. I think it is quite long ago, actually. But the point being there, plenty of fun things coming up. Some people like yourself in the media and the podcast world, hopefully coming on the show, and maybe a few less episodes than the original Game Day fans might remember. We're going to dial things back a little bit. Fly Penguins Fly, higher quality, less quantity.
Well, I appreciate you as always. Excited to see what you have in store, and I'll let you go celebrate your New York Mets. Moving on, taking down the Philadelphia Phillies. Appreciate your time, Jeff.
Go Dodgers. I want the team we stole this color blue from and I want that LA New York series. That would be so fun if the Dodgers could come back.
I'm sure the MLB is wanting that too.
Yeah.
Appreciate you as always. Enjoy the rest of the night. And I think I could say go Mets. I'll say go Mets. What's it going to hurt? I'm a Pirates fan, right?
Oh, I do want to say also, I'm sure you echo this as well. Heart, thoughts, prayers go out to everybody down in Florida who are just under siege right now. And it's just not fair. I mean, that Appalachia and all the way down through Florida, from Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast guys, I'm sure, from Fly Penguins Fly, our hearts go out to your friends and family down there in FLA.
I echo that sentiment. We've mentioned, I got a couple people on here that have also said they're from the Florida area, hunkering down and checking us out here on the live stream. So appreciate everybody who's tuned in and appreciate you as well. Jeff, I'll be in touch. Appreciate you as always. Enjoy your evening.
Good night, Nick.
That is Jeff Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly podcast. Excited to listen to his interview with Paul Steigerwald. Always a fun time. I'm trying to remember, I think, and I'll text Jeff when I get off the show, but I have to remember whether or not that team that he's talking about, that Steigerwald started out with, something tells me he started off in Johnstown. It's something, because the Johnstown Jets, which it might have been back then, were the Detroit Red Wings affiliate. I don't know. I got to brush up on my Steige history. I certainly should know that if he was the color commentator or play-by-play announcer for my hometown team up there in Western Pennsylvania. But game is back underway. Penguins with 12 and a half minutes to go in this one, trying to come back from a very large deficit to the reigning President's Trophy winners. The New York Rangers come out with what could be a 4-on-2 if they hurry. Rucker McGroarty is back. Kreider takes it, shoots it on net, redirected by Braden Schneider, and swallowed up by Tristan Jarry. Jarry has kind of settled in a little bit here, but also at the same time, the chances have come at a little bit of a slower clip from the New York Rangers. It's not like they're sitting back. That would be what the Penguins would do if they were in this scenario. The Rangers have been forcing the issue a little bit, but I think the chances are coming at a little bit less of a clip. I mean, you look at how many shots on goal they have in this game. If you had questions about the Penguins defense, they were answered in a negative connotation tonight. 38 shots on goal for the New York Rangers, and we still have over 12 minutes left in this one. You're just hoping that it's first game stuff. Odd man rushes 9-0 up on the TNT broadcast. Now, here's the thing. The Penguins, it's not surprising from that standpoint when it comes to them having 0 odd man rushes. I said it last year on multiple occasions. This Penguins team is a team that is probably the worst at getting odd man rushes that I've ever seen in my 28 years of life watching hockey at any level. They just don't take odd man rush opportunities. They aren't able to get those odd man rush opportunities very often, but 9-0 is astonishing. It's one of the biggest issues last season. Whenever their defense was playing poorly, that's how you could tell, as they were constantly giving up those odd man rushes. Mike Sullivan, not happy about it at all. This is going to probably make him very angry, as Ryan Graves just steps foot into the zone, sends it down to Igor Shesterkin, and it's like he's playing catch at his childhood home. He just snags that one out of the air and sets it down for his defenseman to take on. Rangers quickly make their way down into the Penguin zone as the Pens try to turn things around, but it's turned over to Brodzinski, who then loses possession of the puck, and it comes out to center ice. 11 minutes remaining in this one, and 11 minutes remaining in this, I wouldn't say live stream. I think 11 minutes of game time. We're not going to stick around too much longer than that, but let's jump over to a couple of questions that you guys had. Pittsburgh Hornets says, who's doing better, Beanie Bishop for the Steelers or Jarry in net? I mean, that's a hard comparison to make. It's been one game for Tristan Jarry in net, but it's been one bad game. So I'll give it to Beanie Bishop, even though if you're going game-to-game sample size, yeah, I'll give it to Tristan Jarry, because last game on Sunday, Beanie Bishop was absolutely horrendous against the Dallas Cowboys. But in totality, Bishop's made a few plays for the Steelers. Jarry's made a few saves tonight for the Penguins, but I'll give it to Beanie Bishop, because I think he's done it a little bit more of a decent clip. Although, again, 5-game sample size to maybe 80% sample size in this one. Randy has been mentioning this all night long, so I want to make sure I give him his shine, because he is 100% correct. Give the team until Thanksgiving to get it together. It applies to the start of pretty much any hockey season. That's how long it takes for a team to really gel and you to really find out who you have in a team. This is one game, as Jeff Taylor mentioned on multiple occasions here. It's one game against a pretty good team in the New York Rangers. A nice opportunity there for Anthony Beauvillier, not able to finish it. Got a wraparound chance, and he couldn't get that one either. This time, a slap shot from Erik Karlsson is turned aside by a Rangers defenseman. That is out of play, and we are under 10 minutes to play on opening night. Penguins, Rangers, not looking good. But yeah, definitely give them some time. Certainly give them more time than the first game of the NHL season. I mean, this is a team that, in the Penguins, that made a lot of changes. And they're going to need to have time to gel. Whereas you look at this Rangers team, I mean, almost a carbon copy of what you saw last season. You know who I haven't noticed? Is he I don't even know if he's in the lineup. Haven't noticed Riley Smith at all. Little surprising. Typically, former Penguins are able to make the Penguins pay for making them former Penguins, but not in this one. Riley Smith has been kind of quiet. If you want to feather in the cap for the Pens, that's a small one. It's a very small one. Pittsburgh Hornets says, with 9 minutes remaining in this game, if someone hits the goal horn for the Pens, who is it going to be? My first goal prediction was Rickard Rakell. He's had a couple of opportunities, kind of faded into the back a little bit. Haven't seen him for the last couple of shifts. I'll stick with Rickard Rakell, because that's who I said at the beginning of the game. And as of right now, still no goals on the board for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's see. Randy says it was the Johnstown Jets. Knew it. I know my Johnstown history. I'm glad I did it. I shouldn't have doubted myself. Appreciate you, Randy, throwing that out there. But Johnstown Jets, where Paul Steigerwald started it all off. Hockey town, Johnstown. How do you not love it? Brandon Rickner says, what is worse, losing 4-0 to the Rangers or getting shut out by the Canadiens? I think this is probably a dig at the Toronto Maple Leafs, even though I do not know the score of that game. Assuming, based on that he is talking about that other game that is happening right now. Let's look at the scoreboard. No, not that one. NHL scoreboard. Oh, not getting shut out. Got shut out. Game over. Montreal Canadiens win 1-0 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's a rough start for a team that's supposed to be high firepower in the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they'll be fine. Christopher said Johnstown Chiefs. I thought both. Yeah, Johnstown Jets, Johnstown Chiefs. Now the Johnstown Tomahawks. A little bit different. They used to be an ECHL team. Now they are an NAHL team, a junior team. Since for the last decade, I think that's what it's been, how long that the Tomahawks have been back in Johnstown. But yeah, that's how I learned hockey, going down to the War Memorial Arena, watching the Johnstown Chiefs, guys like Brent Bilodeau, Dimitri Terabin, Jason Spence, Yeah, those were the Sidney Crosbys of my childhood before 2005 when Sidney Crosby was drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins. But that's where I learned hockey, and that between that and obviously watching the Pittsburgh Penguins growing up as well. 9 minutes, 20 seconds remain in this game. Penguins trying to get something going. Looks like they're going to get a power play opportunity here. Hooking the call on 90. I couldn't make out a number on that one, but looks like Sidney Crosby drew a penalty. Going to be the third opportunity for the Penguins power play to get on the board. Maybe that gives them a little bit of momentum. Oh, 91. There's Riley Smith for the first time tonight. He gets the call, trying to keep up with his ex-teammate. Most definitely a hook, especially compared to the other two penalties that were called on the Penguins earlier in this game. So that one is going to be 2 minutes for Riley Smith. Let's see what the Penguins power play can do. Malkin gets a slap shot 3 seconds in, and it goes right into the crest of Igor Shesterkin. You can tell maybe a little bit of frustration there for Evgeni Malkin, but also when you have an open shot like that, you might as well take it. You might as well take it. Going to need a cough drop after this one to go to bed. Penguins, 9 minutes, 11 seconds remaining on the clock. Crosby wins the faceoff back to Letang. Letang goes to Rickard Rakell, but it bounces off of his stick and is sent down the length of the ice. Letang going to pick this one up. Coming up the ice, going to give it back over to Sidney Crosby. Crosby skates it over center ice before he sends it over to Rickard Rakell, who takes it in the zone. Rakell shovels it towards the net. That one is redirected wide. Penguins regain possession behind the net. Sidney Crosby sends it up top to Karlsson. Karlsson over to Letang. Letang looking for Karlsson. Nobody home. He does reel it in eventually and sends it down into the corner behind the net. Rickard Rakell has a little bit of space. He finds Malkin. Malkin trying for Erik Karlsson. Miscommunication there, and potentially an opportunity here for Chris Kreider. Kreider comes into the net, shoots, backhander, scores. Shorthanded goal given up by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bad to worse on the night. The power play gives up a shorthanded goal, and then if you wanted it to look like last season, that certainly is something that looks like last season. Now it is 5-0 in favor of the New York Rangers. Just a horrible night for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Chris Letang, the errant pass is one thing. Letang is the first one of the puck, and he just doesn't get his stick on the puck. Kreider wanted it more, even up 4-0. Chris Kreider wanted it more, and he scores his second goal of this one. 10 shorthanded goals since the 2020, I believe that's a 2021-2022 season. Shout out to the TNT broadcast for that one. And this one is a 5-0 game. It's all over but the crying. 8 minutes, 15 seconds remaining in this one. Penguins have 59 seconds remaining on the power play. Their first unit has been sat down on the bench. Second unit is out there trying to get something going. Just get on the scoreboard. Beat Igor Shesterkin. Light the lamp. Give these fans, the ones that remain at least, an opportunity to cheer, because they haven't had very much to cheer about at all tonight. Penguins trying to get something going. Hand pass is being threatened. Hand pass is being called on the New York Rangers, and the puck will come all the way back in the zone. Mike Sullivan certainly does not look happy. I wouldn't be happy either if my team is down 5-0, has given up double-digit odd man rushes, has yet to force an odd man rush of their own, and is well on their way. I don't want to say is, because there's 37 seconds left. They could go out there and get it, but is well on their way to being 0 for 3 on the power play. Bradley Vision says Canadian Thanksgiving is Monday, which early happy Canadian Thanksgiving to all of our listeners from north of the border. Thanksgiving, that's what, the 14th of October? See, something that, we don't need to get into Canadian holidays. Something's a little weird to me having Thanksgiving before Halloween, but again, that's just how I grew up, so that's probably why it's weird. Yep. Randy says NAHL, North American Hockey League. Yep, that is correct. That is the Johnstown Tomahawks of the NAHL. Believe they had one player make the NHL from their inaugural season, Casey Benson, if I might be mistaking that name again. It's been a decade. Casey Benson is his name. Jeff Taylor is still in the background here, throwing some Ben and Jerry's onto his screen, making me a little bit jealous, as I need. I could use some Ben and Jerry's as well. Let's see what else. Light puts a comment in here. Says, anyone else sitting here in silence as the Pittsburgh Penguins get completely picked apart? I mean, I'm not sitting in silence, but also I agree the Penguins have been getting completely picked apart. I mean, the power play is 0 for 3. You give up a shorthanded goal. Not what you want to see. They've gotten a couple opportunities, but again, looking a lot more like last season than they did in preseason. Trying to get an opportunity here now. It looks like the third line and third pairing out there. Jack St. Ivany getting into it behind the net. We'll see if anything comes of that as they get out of screen. Matt Grzelcyk picks up the puck. 6 minutes remaining in this one. New York Rangers knocking on 40's door when it comes to the shots on goal. They already have potted 5 goals behind Tristan Jarry, and that puck scampers out back into the Penguin zone. Ryan Graves picks it up. His game has settled down a little bit. Here comes an opportunity. Lars Eller shooting the puck, and a blocker save by Igor Shesterkin. Best opportunity for Eller in this matchup is turned away. Penguins' third line looking to get into some business. Actually, that looks like Rickard Rakell that's out there on the ice. Penguins are in mid-shift change. Drew O'Connor lays the body. Sidney Crosby has to be up on the bench waiting to get onto the ice. It looks like his line mates are out there. O'Connor with the puck, surrounded by Rangers players. He's going to dump it in and turn the puck over. Keandre Miller waits behind his net, could wait there for 6 minutes if need be. 5.5 remaining in the third period of play here. Again, not sitting here in silence, but watching as looks like it's going to be pretty silent at the end of this game at PPG Paints Arena. Not a lot of people left in that building right now. Rangers looking to pour it on. Trouba shot, redirected, and blocked away by Tristan Jarry. All Things Hockey comments. Trying to be fancy on the power play as well. They just got to blast it more. That was the emphasis. That was the point of emphasis earlier in the preseason. Mike Sullivan said, the one thing that we're telling them, shoot the puck more often. Don't think about it. Don't pass it as much. Shoot the puck. And I think the worst thing that could have happened, Sudbury, Ontario, Pittsburgh Penguins, Evgeni Malkin passes the puck into the net. Quite literally passes the puck into the net. So now apparently they think they can do it again. I mean, at least in the first game. Again, small sample size, one game. You don't want to bury them for that. But trying to be too fancy, I agree. That pass by Malkin, unnecessary. I think that's one that he'd want back. And certainly the miscommunication with Karlsson pinching at that time, leaving that open ice, and Kris Letang just being beat out by Chris Kreider on that just can't happen. Can't happen. It's been a rough night for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Seems like it's going to mercifully come to an end here in the next handful of minutes. 3:51 remaining on the clock. Logan Rose joining me for the second time today. I know Logan was on the live stream earlier this afternoon. Says, seems like Sullivan's message has run dry. I like him as a coach, but what they're doing hasn't worked, and at some point something has to change for this team to shake them up. I know that Mike Sullivan was backed pretty heavily by the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that narrative has kind of fallen by the wayside as the offseason kind of progressed. If they play like this night in and night out, yeah, that's going to start to become a conversation once again. Again, first game of the season. Let's not make any widespread, wide-ranging judgments on this team. I think they outplayed the Rangers in the first period for the most part, and they were just down 3-0 because of poor goaltending. Now their goaltending has picked it up, but as I say that, there's a sixth goal. That's Vincent Trocheck scoring that one, 6-0, and this one is a certified blowout. We got a good question here from Jackson McKnight, who says, why didn't they try Blomqvist sometime in the second period? Sometimes all you need is a spark and a goalie change. Not with a back-to-back. Not with a back-to-back, and not with it being Joe Blomqvist, Jackson. And that's the thing. If this was Alex Nedeljkovic in net, it becomes more of a realistic scenario. But even then, you got a game tomorrow night against the Detroit Red Wings. You don't want to throw out two goaltenders on the first night of a back-to-back. And you certainly don't want to do it when it's a rookie and Joe Blomqvist. You don't want that to be his first taste of NHL hockey. That's a lot to put on a young kid. And that's something that you're trying to protect him a little bit in his first opportunity. They're not going to put out Joe Blomqvist in that one. So as much as, it could have been a spark for the Pittsburgh Penguins, potentially, you were down 3-0. At that point, you had felt like you had controlled most of the game. You just hadn't had some bad goaltending, and Tristan Jarry needed to settle into this one. So I agree with the fact that they didn't pull the guy. But at the same time, as the season wears on, if you go down like that, I would expect that you do see that a couple more times. Gapped says, I'm new to hockey. Welcome. Sorry, this is hopefully not one of the first games you're watching of the Penguins. New to hockey, but does Michael Bunting have 4 shots on goal against Ivan? Let me see. Let me pull up the box score to see the total shots on goal per player. The one that I have up right now is just team total, but box score. Michael Bunting does have 4 shots. He does not lead the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. That falls to Anthony Beauvillier, who leads the Pens with 5 shots on goal in this one. Lars Eller also has 4, and Jesse Puljujärvi has 3. Trying to see who doesn't have a shot. Drew O'Connor doesn't have a shot on goal. Nola Chari doesn't have a shot on goal. Here's one that's going to bother me. Erik Karlsson does not have a shot on goal. At some point, you got 3 power plays. At some point, you got to get shots on goal. But yes, Michael Bunting does have 4 shots on goal. Welcome to hockey, by the way. Not all games are this bad. Let's go over to Pens hockey. Wonder what Laine would have done for this team. There's no shooters on this team. I wouldn't say there's none. Obviously, they're missing Brian Rust, who is their main shooter. Sidney Crosby is not. You wouldn't think of Sidney Crosby as a shoot first guy. He was that a lot more last year. 40 plus goals says so. So he is a shooter. Just also Evgeni Malkin is, Rickard Rakell is. They just haven't been able to crack this New York Rangers netminder. They've gotten the opportunities, and especially in that first period, they had a handful of opportunities. It was just a little move here and there, a little miscalculation here and there, and Igor Shesterkin was able to get on his angle. Jackson McKnight wants to know, when is Ned supposed to come back? Alex Nedeljkovic is week to week right now with a lower body injury. He got injured the Monday of last week, so that would be 8-9 days ago. He's already skating with the injured group, which is a good sign, but the next stage will be if he gets into practice. The Pens don't have very many practices over the next couple of days because they go to Detroit tomorrow to play a game, and then they're on the road taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs for their 3rd game in 4 days to start the season on Saturday. So the next step would be seeing if he gets on the ice, but I would imagine it's going to be another week, maybe a little bit longer before you see Alex Nedeljkovic ready to play. Sarah wants to know, what if Quinn switched with Sully? They have to do something. I love hot takes like that. Mike Sullivan is not giving up power. Also, the Penguins are paying Mike Sullivan to be the head coach. They don't want to pay him to just be the assistant coach. But they need to figure it out as a group, not just one guy, not just Sully, not just Quinn. They need to figure it out as a group. 140 remaining in this game. Merciful end to this one coming up in a few minutes. Let's see if there's any other questions right now. Pittsburgh Hornets. Will they adjust better in the power play this year? Yes, I do think the power play is going to be better. One, because, it can't get much worse. They were 30th in the National Hockey League last year. And I understand tonight is a rough start, 0 for 3, giving up a shorthanded goal, something they led the league in, I believe, last year. But I do think that once you get Karlsson acclimated in, I think that the system that they are planning to run is going to fit with the players they have and the skill sets they have better. Let's see. The dude says, what can we take away from this game and apply to the rest of the season? Woof. Not much you can take away from this game, to be completely honest. Individual performances is what I'm going to say. I liked what I've seen from Cody Glass in this game. I like the fact that Anthony Beauvillier is literally a shot merchant. That's good. But outside of that, not a whole lot you can take from this game. Like Jeff Taylor said in the second intermission, this is the type of performance that you crinkle it up in the ball and you just absolutely throw it in the trash and say, let's start fresh tomorrow. So it doesn't work. There's not much that you can take from this one. You just got to forget about it and you got to move on. And the good thing is you have that opportunity to kind of just wipe the slate clean, get the taste out of your mouth, and go 1-1 tomorrow. That's exactly what they're going to need to do going forward. 38 seconds remaining in this one. Pens don't really look like they're pushing the issue too much. So it looks like it could be a shutout to start the season. To make things worse, it's a 6-0 shutout against a division rival. 20 seconds left. Cody Glass takes the puck into the zone. He turns the puck over. Rangers clear it. They're going to just send it down the ice and secure that shutout for Igor Shesterkin. While he turned down $88 million, he certainly looked like a goaltender that can back that up today. He had made a couple of good shots, 28. Now that's going to be 29 save shutout for Igor Shesterkin. 000 hit the clock. The clock changes to final, and the Penguins lose this one by a final score of 6-0. 41 shots on goal for the New York Rangers, 29 for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they are shut out in their home opener, in their season opener to the 2024-25 season. Let's take a look at the final stat count for this one. I already mentioned the shots on goal, already mentioned the goal total, but block shots 20-10 in favor of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Penalties, 4 on the Rangers side, 3 on the Pittsburgh Penguins side. 1 shorthanded goal for the Rangers. Penguins out-hit the Rangers 20-15. If you want to take a solace in that, Penguins lost the face-off battle as well, 51% to 49%. But that's going to do it for game 1. As That's Right says, the bed is good and pooped. That's a good start to the season there. Not great. But as Leon Cook said, you never know. Maybe there's an 81-1 season incoming for the Pittsburgh Penguins. If I had to do a 3 stars of the game, it would be 3 New York Rangers. There would be nobody on the Pittsburgh Penguins that I would be giving a star to. Igor Shesterkin, number 1 star, got the shutout. Chris Kreider, I believe, had 2 goals, so I'll give him a star as well. 3rd star of the game, Philip Hedl. He was evident early on. Before this one got out of hand, he was the guy of the game. Chris Kreider was kind of doing mop-up duty with his pair of goals there. So I'll give Hedl 1st star of the game, Kreider 2nd star of the game. Sorry, Hedl 3rd, Kreider 2nd, Igor Shesterkin the 1st star of the game. So we have a game tomorrow. That's what's going to be important for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this live stream. I agree with Bonehead. That was a brutal watch. Would have been much more fun to be able to do this watch along, this inaugural watch along with a better game. Maybe this is a sign. I mean, I'm still going to do watch alongs, but they need to win one of these before I start to actually feel comfortable doing it, because a 6-0 loss, not a good debut for the tip of the Ice-Burgh watch along. But that is going to do it for this one. Shout out to Hunter Hodies for joining of Locked On Penguins podcast. Shout out to Jeff Taylor of the Fly Penguins Fly Game Day podcast. Appreciate both of them joining, and appreciate all of you for tuning into this one. Remember, you can find us on YouTube at Tip of the Ice-Burgh. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, or you can find us anywhere you get your podcast from. We'll have a full episode tomorrow with myself and Nick Horwat breaking down this 6-0 loss, talking about our weekly Pens poll, which if you want to, go over to our Twitter page at Ice-Burgh Podcast, vote on that poll as who will be the Penguins' leading bottom 6 scorer. As of right now, it is a 6-way tie at 0. So still plenty of time to get in your vote and cast your vote before we record tomorrow. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.